About the sports we saw, inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. You found the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia, and we're glad you're with us to start your afternoon here on the Fan Rochester at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Or if you're watching along on our YouTube channel, the stream is up. The Fan Rochester on YouTube and the free-to-download Odyssey app. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
So we go from one event to the next here, where we have the Masters, and now we're rolling into the NBA play-in games. And look, I know we're not the show that talks a lot of NBA, or for that matter, goes beyond the Sabres and the NHL, but tell me this isn't a fun time of year. It's okay if you're just kind of jumping in tonight and like, oh my gosh, wait a second, Golden State is in against Memphis. Like maybe one of these two teams is going to end up out. Yeah, I'm totally fine with kind of jumping in late here to the party.
Absolutely, can't wait for some play-in action tonight. The NHL season winding down, and all of that still in the background here. It's quiet in the NFL, but I think it's quiet because we are now just 9 days away.
9 times.
From the NFL draft. And teams are jockeying for position. Teams are finalizing their boards and their plans. And we've got prospects that are going to be in Green Bay waiting for their name to be called. So we're going to try to unpack all of it this afternoon. And we've got a fun afternoon lined up for you with our guests, including Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone.
As the Amherst have 3 games left in their season, Wednesday home against Cleveland and the home and home with Toronto, Friday night being the home finale for the Amherst. And then that's it. But for this week, it's what are you playing for? They are locked in as the 2. You can't get up to number 1. You can't drop to number 3. The Rochester Americans, if it held right now, would have the home ice advantage against Syracuse again in the 2-3 matchup. Are you trying to fine-tune, or are you putting your foot to the pedal? We'll ask those questions here to Mike Leone, head coach of the Amherst, and also, hey, he's a Western Michigan alum.
Yeah.
Like, he can, be a peacock here and just say, hey, yeah, we kind of did it here.
I dug that. Yeah, Western Michigan getting their first college hockey Frozen Four title with the win over Boston. So, and also I thought interesting, speaking of college hockey, somebody that we recently saw win a title for Quinnipiac, who's been a good Rochester American here for the last few years. That's Zach Metza, who was named the Amherst representative for AHL Man of the Year. So we'll let Mike Leone talk a little bit about Metza's contributions.
I'm glad they do that in the NFL and, in the AHL, just like, hey, because sometimes you're not doing this for credit. You wouldn't think, but hey, let's just kind of point out that there are good guys in every sport. So congratulations to Zach Metz on being that nominee, and hopefully he wins it.
Matt Perino covers the Buffalo Bills for Syracuse.com and Syracuse Post-Standard. He will be joining us later this hour, right around 3:25.
He is either on his way back from Philadelphia or he's still down there, so he's good. I mean, Matt, he's done interviews with us when he was in Arizona on a bike ride. He pulled over, somehow got cell phone. The one that cannot be topped, Test Track, following the NFL owners meetings last year where you hear him going, woo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to lose his phone. He didn't lose his phone, thankfully. Well, I'm not sure if he's in Philadelphia or he's on his way back, but just kind of took a little outing there where he took his son to a Phillies game yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get to Perino's thoughts here as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft, what the Bills might do, whether or not Matt's zeroed in on a Bills draft crush. I named mine yesterday. We'll get into all of that with Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard.
Are you okay? Because there are some people, Danger, that are taking this week off with the schools being out, and some of them go to Disney and everything else.
I went in February. I'm good. Yes, it is spring break, and routines have changed, and a lot of people did take time and get out of town this week. We went in February. We went February break. I needed to get away in February, which we did. And I didn't do Disney, but we did a day at Disney Springs for what that's worth.
Well, mental health, 50% part of my question, but also the 50% part that, Oh yeah, my girl was just like me. Like you can't, like the days of taking the girls down to Disney.
Oh, you know what? Those
are-
days, I think those days still exist. And I know that they actually still exist because they will send me updates from Universal where look at the new Harry Potter Wizarding World thing that they've created. Oh my God, they've updated Test Track. They're working on it now. Look at the new cars at Test Track. They're like me. They're never going to grow up. They're never going to outgrow going to Disney. It's just not an every year thing the way it was there for a little stretch of time.
Yeah, you'll be the grandfather who gets the property that's within walking distance.
Yeah, it'll be me tapping you on the shoulder. Gino, you got any Werthers? I got the grandkids coming over. You spare a cup of Werthers for your buddy Danger? And now I'm the one taking them to Disney World.
Matt Perino.
Yeah.
I want to ask him about Dwayne Carter.
Right.
Not that he's a forgotten Buffalo Bill, but if the Bills are high on him, does that offer a clue perhaps that, hey, maybe we don't need to move up to get Kenneth Grant? Maybe we can sit right here and let the draft fall to us. That never happens with Brandon Beane, though. Never, ever.
Well, I think if you have your guy, you have the guy that you want, you go get him. And the times where they haven't done that, we've talked about the times where they haven't gone and gotten their guy. They've gotten leapfrogged by mainly the Chiefs. So I like the idea of them circling around a guy that they want, a guy that they believe will be a difference maker, and go get him. And if that means you have to move up a couple spots, you do what you have to do. You have 10 draft picks in this year's draft. I don't think all 10 of them are going to contribute immediately to the Buffalo Bills.
Well, the question we don't know, but I can guarantee Brandon Beane will be asked, okay? Every year on their draft board, they rate guys whether they have a first-round grade or not. And there's been some years where, you're running out of time, hence the Bills trading up. I think it was Kyer Elam. Okay, they had a first-round grade on him. Well, that wasn't a proper grade. My point being, at 30, how many first-round grades do the Buffalo Bills actually have in this draft? In Danger, I'm going to guess this, and I have no knowledge. I'm going to guess it's not 30. I like, from everything I'm kind of hearing, reading, everything, that maybe this could be a year where the Buffalo Bills do the same thing that they did last year, where, okay, maybe we don't want to pay the price to go up how many ever slots, but at the end of the first round, there might be still one of these quarterbacks that are on the board, whether it's Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. Dare I say Shador, okay? But for a team, do you want to draft that guy in the second round, or do you want to, all right, let's get back into the first round, make sure we get him, and then we can get the fifth-year option on top of that and extend the window just a little bit. Just the way these quarterbacks are lining up, I'm just thinking that one of these guys could be a team trading back at the end of the first round, and let's call Buffalo right here.
Yeah, I'm exactly feeling the exact opposite of what you're feeling. I mean, the idea that could happen, I'm sure, is a possibility, right? Like, there is a very real possibility that a team would want to draft into the first round just to get that fifth-year option on a rookie deal for a quarterback. But if I'm Brandon Beane, I am not settling. I feel like you've settled a couple of times with your picks in the first or second round. I feel like Keon Coleman was almost a settle last year. We don't know how that's going to play out, but I feel like you settled for him at the beginning of the second round. I feel like Kyer Elam was definitely, we're going to settle for him. And it doesn't work out. Go get your guy. Go get your guy. Expect more, accept less, and go get your guy. And I'm hoping that guy, for me, my Bills draft crush, I mentioned it yesterday, Kenneth Grant. So to bring it back around to what you were saying, Jalen Carter. What do they feel about Jalen Carter? Because I feel like that unlocks the answer to the question, how do they feel?
Carter.
I'm sorry, Dwayne Carter.
Yeah.
I see Jalen Carter. The idea that if they like Carter enough and they see a bigger role for him in year two, does that prevent them from going and getting another defensive tackle in round one? That's kind of what I'd like to pick Matt's brain about here when he joins us in about 15 or 20 minutes.
It's like, you go back to last season, and it was a Bills team that I don't even remember this game against. That was the game, okay, that Amari Cooper scored. You didn't see him until the end of the season. So that wrist injury took out some time. Going back, though, like he was getting some positive runs. So that'll be one of the questions I can't wait to pepper here at Matt Perino. And also, Matt's going to do one of his draft shows. We'll let him tell us about that.
If you have you want to get in on the sports bar, we're welcoming you on in anytime you'd like. Our lines are open for you at 866-4FAN. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4326, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
I got to get over to Good Smoke here. Every time you read that, I'm like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. The table is set for you this afternoon. Gino, I saw this, and I don't know if it's a nothing or if it's a something, but when we're talking about the NFL draft, this every year they've made it known, like, here's who we're inviting. Here are the prospects who will be in attendance at the draft this year in Green Bay. And there are a total of 17 of them that will be there for the first round. Now, in years past, this has been somewhat of a tell. Like, some of these guys are going to get selected. Some of these guys might not be selected. So I guess when I look at this list, I'm kind of curious to get your opinion, Gino. If there are guys on here that you say to yourself immediately, that person, we know there's people that will get selected that are being that'll be in attendance. There's also a couple guys that I think are kind of fringy. You have to go to 2024 last year when you had 13 prospects in attendance. All 13 were selected in the first round. 2023, you had 17 like this year. 13 of the 17 were in the first round. You remember Joey Porter Jr. went in the second round. Will Levis went late. Brian Branch, Keon White. And in 2021, 21 were invited, 17 selected in 2022. So out of these 17, Gino, do you see a player like Jackson Dart, who's invited to Green Bay, getting selected in the first round?
Let me just kind of bottom line this for you, Danger, where I whether it's Dart or somebody else, the guy sitting at the table is great television. We shouldn't enjoy that because here's somebody in the best moment, and best night of their life, getting passed over and passed over. And the history lesson where ESPN might have realized they had something about this, it was actually Thurman Thomas, first-round pick. And, oh, my gosh, he's still there in the second round, and they keep going back. He wasn't at the draft, but they kept going back to his home camera where he's asleep apparently at one point. And there's countless other examples like Geno Smith. Hey, give Geno Smith some credit, right? He made a career out of this. His draft night was terrible to the point where he stormed out when they had it back in New York. Was selected in the second round, had to come back the next night after he realized. Of course, you've got Johnny Manziel, who was just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there and sitting there.
Rogers. Just stewing the entire night, seeing teams pass him up.
So if you want to come to the draft, by all means, that doesn't mean you're getting selected in the first round.
Well, of all of the names that are on this list, the name that is absent is the one that I feel is the most interesting. Like, we could talk about Jalen Milroe being invited and whether or not he or Jackson Dart go in the first round, but Shedeur is not attending the draft in person in Green Bay. Shedeur Sanders, who I think we've identified as the one prospect with the widest variance of where he could go in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, widest variance, Cleveland at 2. Wouldn't surprise me. Pittsburgh passing him on at 21. Danger wouldn't surprise me. Here's why. Like, a first-round pick, in particular, a quarterback in the first round, is that a GM decision? Well, sometimes, like in Atlanta, it seemed like Arthur Blank didn't know what was going on last year with the Falcons. But more often than not, you got to involve the owner. So do you want the Sanders family as the – can you negotiate? Yes, of course, the contracts are kind of locked in, but you are always going to have Dion weighing in. Does a team want to go down that road? And furthermore, is he really that good? Like, it should be like a no. If he's really that good, Cleveland take him at 2. You will enjoy, and maybe you make a playoff run. And maybe that's what ends up happening. But if the Giants pass on him at 3, oh, well, then there's another team, too, because legitimately, unless you say Spencer Rattler's the dude, Danger right now for everybody watching,
Yeah.
shaking his head. No, he's
He's
not
not
the
the dude.
No, so like the Saints. Okay, what direction are they going to go in? The Saints, the perpetual team that maxes out their credit card. Well, maybe you got to pay the credit card this year. Just pay down the debt, draft the best lineman available, and suck this year on the field. And then you go get your guy next year, Manning, who would be a home run on many fronts. To me, Shador falling in this draft, and he's not going to be there. And I'm just wondering if he's not going to be there because he doesn't want to. That would be a terrible look for his family if that ended up happening.
Right. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I am, but
No, you're not reading into it at all, though.
I think. But then you hear other guys that are probably going to go in the first round that aren't there because they were invited, but they said, no, I'm going to spend time with my family. Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end. Invited to the draft. No, I'm going to spend it with my family. I'll be with them in their living room. And I can't fault anybody for wanting to do that. I just thought it was interesting that out of the 17 prospects that are being invited that will be on site in Green Bay, that Shador wasn't one of them. But Jalen Milroe will be there. That Jackson Dart will be there. Okay, so to your point about the guy sitting at the table, will it be that for Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart, just kind of waiting, and not hearing their name called because they're not considered first-round prospects? Or, knowing the importance of that position, a team does say, no, we want Jalen Milroe. A team like Pittsburgh could say at 21, that's our guy. We can't believe he's still there. Jackson Dart. Plenty of people that would believe he could be a franchise guy, even though it's kind of divided right now. The draft analysts are kind of divided on where that guy falls down.
Do you have did it break out that list by quarterbacks? And so Shador, so Milroe, Dart is invited too?
Dart is invited. Milroe is invited. Of course, Cam Ward is invited as well. Travis Hunter will be there. Ashton Genty will be there. Will Johnson will be there.
Okay, so the question about the quarterbacks, because if it's a lineman, that's not interesting. That's not anything. My joke was going to be, did they invite Aaron Rodgers? I guess apparently they didn't.
No. But Matthew Golden, wide receiver, will be there, right? How many running backs go in the first round? We talked about that yesterday. The over-under set at 2.5. Well, you've got Ashton Genty. He will definitely be there, and all indications are he will go to a team in the first round, maybe even as high as the top 10. So it's when I saw that, I thought, okay, maybe there's something there when you kind of look at history and you see how many of the prospects that get invited actually go in the first round. And as recently as last year, it was 100% of the prospects that were in attendance getting that call in the first round.
Yeah, we've got to invite Brad Talbot on the show, too, at some point, because it's like if you're just taking it from a statistical how many guys are there, how many guys do the Bills bring in for top 30 that actually get drafted by Buffalo? I mean, to me, that's a big, big tell. And if you're going down the list right now, it's defensive linemen, it's corners, it's wide receivers. That's kind of – and there's a running back, too, that they brought in today.
Yeah, saw that as well, yep. So we're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. And as we like to do every year for round one of the draft, my secret textoso line was blowing up earlier this morning. Danger, where's the draft going to be this year? You going to be out live anywhere? Of course we're going to be live. You know where we're going to be live. We're going to be live at Three Heads, man. Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts from 3 until 6. We'll have special guests. We'll have great beer. We'll have plenty of analysis.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Did I mention we'll have great beer? We'll be at Three Heads from 3 to 6 a week from Thursday for day one of the NFL draft. We look forward to seeing you there. We love our live shows.
You are not required to RSVP, but if you do, at The Fan Rochester, I mean, we'd certainly love to hear from you. You can reach us out on social. There's another story that is not draft-related, but the Miami Dolphins GM today spoke to the local media down there and kind of made mention, we'd like to trade Jalen Ramsey.
What? What? Are you kidding me? Corner, man. Corner is a fickle position. Doesn't feel like long ago.
I mean, to me, Dallas trading for Kyer Elam is smarter than any team trading for Jalen Ramsey and the $21 million he's owed in 2025. Of course the Dolphins would love to get rid of that.
My God.
You know, if you want the $21 million us to take that off the books, then give us your first rounder, Miami. How about that?
God. Doesn't it just make the Benford deal look that much better? Knowing that dude can play and Ramsey is a shell of what he used to be at $21 million this year. My God. Bad teams, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. That's terrible.
When the Rams picked off Ramsey from the Jags, I thought still that he was one of the best corners in the game at that point.
Sure.
And then the Rams realized, this is time to get off the merry-go-round.
Because this position is a fickle one. You can't go long-term on this position. I mean, a guy like Stephon Gilmore is such a diamond in the rough. For him to have the longevity, the length of career that he's had, to make the money that he's had, to have the success that he's had with multiple teams, is such a rarity. You don't see it. You see the decline happen more often than not. I mean, for as good as Trey White was, a couple of injuries, and now it's what?
Danger. I would even put Rasul Douglas.
Sure.
Like anybody who is at 30 years old at that position that still is bringing in. By the way, Rasul Douglas is still on the mark.
Right. We saw it with Darrelle Revis. We certainly saw it with Josh Norman. Corner is a fickle position, and it's all about the life stage, the stages of life within that player's career. What, like the early stage where they're supremely athletic but need to learn technique, the prime where they're athletic still and have mastered their technique, and then the end of their careers where they're not as athletic but they have their technique mastered. And for as technical as somebody like a Rasul Douglas could be or Trey White could be, you just see athletically they just can't hang.
Well, I would also point out this too, and maybe somebody would dispute me on this. Tell me about the talent at the wide receiver position combined with the rules here in 2025. You don't get any off weeks, Danger. There's no way you can hide if you're not on top of your game. There's always going to be a team that is rolling out a true number one or maybe a 1A and a 1B. It's an exhausting position in this league. And if you have a corner like Christian Benford, you lock him up. And will Christian Benford get another contract on top of that? That would be very unicornish.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's get into Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. We'll get his take as we're 9 days away from the draft on what we're hearing about some of these 30 visits that happened in pre-draft visits with the Buffalo Bills. And if he's in Philadelphia, you got to ask him about taking the steps. I think I saw his son running up the Rocky steps and the music playing and the whole thing. So from the city of brotherly love on location, Matt Perino will be stopping by the sports bar next on The Fan.
Update.
Just 2 games left in the season for the Buffalo Sabres, including tonight against Toronto. Head coach Lindy Ruff on the opponent.
I was expecting a good opponent. I mean, they play hard. They do a good job staying tight inside. They're good speed going up ice. You know, it's a good team to look at. They manage the puck well. They get it in behind you. There's not a lot of risk when it comes to giving up big opportunities because of mismanaging the puck, which that's a quality of a lot of good teams.
Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock here on The Fan. We'll talk some football coming up next. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Red Wings are back home this week, starting tonight against Worcester. All the action in the majors is under the lights. NBA play-in games tonight, 7 versus 8. The winner of these contests get in. Orlando taking on Atlanta. Golden State hosting Memphis. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. 9 days away from the NFL Draft, talking some Buffalo Bills with our buddy Matt Perino, covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. You can read his work at syracuse.com. You can hear his work on the Shout podcast. We'll talk more about their live show coming up. Matt, it's good to have you on with us as always. I have identified my Bills draft crush for the 2025 draft. This is the guy I can't see them leaving without in day 1 or day 2. That is defensive tackle out of Michigan, Kenneth Grant. And I think the question that we have to start here is, how do you think the Bills feel about what they have going into year 2 with Dwayne Carter? Because that might be a bit of a tell as to whether or not they would go up and get a guy like Grant if they had to move up the draft board in round 1.
Okay, so first, I don't know if Grant is necessarily connected to Carter in any way, because I think what they probably project best at are different things. I mean, Carter they drafted to be a 3-tech, where Grant is going to be a space-eating run defender playing next to Ed Oliver for the next 4 years, you hope. And Carter has an opportunity to become whatever he wants to, really. Like, I don't know if they're dead set on him based on what they saw in year 1 in terms of trajectory. You know, he could be falling more in line in the Harrison Phillips model, where, you know, Phillips kind of came in as a tweener. They put him at 1-tech at times. They had him rush the passer at 3-tech as well. Maybe Carter's a guy that they kind of move into both roles, whereas Grant, to me, is more of that true nose tackle, the heir apparent to Daquan Jones, if you will. And maybe the Bills look to take a couple of those. And so it's funny, you bring up Grant being a draft crush. I was right there with you, probably like a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then I started to flip a little bit and kind of get a little bit more on the Derek Harmon train, which Ryan actually helped me arrive at. And the reason why, if you're going and taking a player in this draft, right, in the first round especially, I think you want somebody that has pass rushing chops that are worth that spot in the draft. And Grant, while maybe able to develop into a pass rusher, there are some people that even talk about some shades of his game that are similar to a Chris Jones even. Harmon, to me, from everything I've read, everything that I've watched, is more pro-ready as a pass rusher, and some argue is even better against the run than Grant, who is more kind of pinned into that specific role. Now, I don't think you go wrong with either of these guys. I think the issue I have is trading up for a defensive tackle in a class that is as deep as it is, knowing what the Bills need. To me, if you want to get even Harmon, the argument that I'm making for him, I think if you land the right 1-tech nose tackle, you then further unlock Ed Oliver. This is something that I was arguing for years ago. Go back and listen to the Shout podcast back in the draft 3 years ago, when the Lions landed Aleem McNeil in the 3rd round. I was pounding the table for the Bills to be aggressive and getting a sizable counterpart in the draft that you could pair with Oliver for a couple of years. They didn't do that year after year. And to me, there are, you name them. I mean, Alfred Collins, Tyleek Williams, C.J. West from Indiana. You can go down the list. Jamari Caldwell, the other Oregon defensive tackle, that fit that role. I think it was Mina Kimes. I just retweeted it for a couple minutes ago. She said, This is a draft that if you need a nose tackle, it is a fantastic draft to need it. And I quote tweeted that with a Brandon Beane picture. Like, yeah, go get that big, sizable nose tackle in this group.
Yeah, if it's not the nose tackle position, there are a few other needs here, or defensive line, I should say, Matt. What about the corner position? Do you have anybody that you have your eye on because you read the mocks that Trey Amos, Ole Miss? What about Morrison from Notre Dame, where if he were fully healthy, maybe he'd actually be going higher? Your thoughts on that position, and is there anybody you are zeroing in right now on?
I feel like I'd be comfortable with the Bills landing any of those top 4 names that are kind of being bantied about after Will Johnson and Travis Hunter. So you mentioned Amos. Shavon Ravel out of East Carolina is another name that I'd throw into the mix. The more I look at Morrison, and the more obviously Ryan, the big Notre Dame hunk that he is, has been beating that drum for months. He also likes the safety Watts. Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame, but
did you do that? Did you do that intentionally? The same?
It was just a slip of the tongue. But listen, that Notre Dame secondary was absolutely special. Whether it was this year or last season, a lot of people like Morrison's 2023 tape. They liken it similarly to Will Johnson, who had a little bit of a fall off in 2024, but the tape was so good in 2023. Invest in that. So I think if you land any of those guys at that spot, and I didn't even mention yet Kentucky's Maxwell Hairston, who might be the best of the bunch. I was listening to Todd McShay today on the drive up from I went to Philly for a conference up there, and I brought my son. We went to a Phillies game. It was a good time. I was listening to McShay on the drive back, and he mentioned he thinks Hairston in this draft, offense or defense, is the number 2 athlete behind only Travis Hunter in terms of the upside, the athletic profile. The thing that he gets kind of dinged for is some off-the-field stuff and a shoulder injury last season that maybe will make him available when in most years, if he didn't have those issues, we could be talking about a top 10 pick here. So I like any of those ideas, and to be honest with you, the trade-up for cornerback to me is more I could stomach that a little bit more because of how deep things are at defensive tackle. Now, if they trade up and get Grant and he ends up being a star, sure, that makes a ton of sense. But you better be sure after a couple of questionable trade-ups in the past couple of drafts, Dalton Kincaid, the jury's still out, but the verdict is in on Kyer Elam. If you're trading up and you're giving up assets, you better be sure that person's going to move the needle.
Oh, so Matt, back to Hairston, who we found out from his Instagram story was on a pre-draft visit with the Bills, and you mentioned Ryan, who's doing a great job at Syracuse.com and tracking all of these pre-draft visits. I mean, these aren't nothings, right? I mean, there's probably some smoke to some of these visits that are coming here, and the Bills have a history of really zeroing in and locking down some of these guys when they do get to rounds 1, 2, and beyond of the NFL draft.
So I don't like to read too much into this because Brandon Beane and this organization as a whole, if we really just look at it since 2017 when Sean McDermott and Beane arrived, they keep things in a house, right? They're always looking to kind of stay ahead of the game in terms of not letting too much out. I think that it's more than fair if Brandon Beane was going through this entire 30-visit exercise just to throw people off the beaten path for what they want. I haven't seen any big-time safeties that are brought in, and there's a couple, right? Malachi Starks, Nick Imanawari out of South Carolina. Those can be interesting pieces. I mean, some people are talking about Imanawari as like this year's draft's version of Kyle Hamilton. Not the same exact player, but in terms of like if you get him late in the round, if he falls to that area, a player we're going to be talking about over the next couple of years. I was actually listening to another podcast. Sheil Kapadia does a great job with The Ringer. And they were talking about, they listed all of the GMs in order of tiers, like in terms of drafting and where they fall in. And as you'd expect, the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, they were all at the top. But the thing that separates DaCosta for them, and I agree with this, is that for the Ravens over the last couple of years, there's been some, misses. But if you look at a guy like Linderbaum and then Kyle Hamilton, over the last 5 drafts, they've found 2 impact all-pro caliber players on both sides of the ball. And I don't know if you can make that argument necessarily on day one for Brandon Beane. Now, the pushback to that, and I've made this pushback. Spencer Brown is that player. He was just a third-round pick. Taron Johnson, I know it was 2018, is that caliber of player. I think you can, I don't think he's an all-pro caliber player, but Khalil Shakir is a very important piece to this thing as well. So there's been hits. Osiris Torrance, he might be verging on all-pro status. We could see him take that next step in his game this year, a second-round pick. So I think that for this draft, it's so important that whoever the first pick is, and it's tough when you're drafting 30 and later in these drafts, to hit on a difference maker, it's a challenge. But I think any outcome that we see, a trade up, a trade back to get more because there's so many people that you'd be happy with at that spot, or sticking and picking because you really like a player, I think all of those things are in play. I've never been more anything could happen for a Bills draft than I am going into this one.
I'm totally with you. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast, is I'm trying to envision what may happen. And one thing I do know is, all right, there are some quarterbacks that maybe won't go in the top 15, top 20, but a team might want to trade back into the first round. With Buffalo being at 30, maybe it's a Jalen Milroe, maybe it's a Jackson Dart. And with Buffalo being at 30, Matt, the question that I would love to, what I would ask Brandon Beane, he wouldn't tell us right now, but I'm sure he'll tell us after the draft, right? How many first-round grades do the Buffalo Bills actually have overall? And if the answer is 18, 19, or certainly short of 30, I could easily see the Bills moving out at pick 30.
Yeah, and because this year is interesting, too, in that the real strength of the draft from all the evaluations read that I respect is at the top of the second round. So now if you have 2 picks at the end of the second round, right, and you have 30, if you can move back for one of these teams looking to get back up for a quarterback and might be willing to overpay, now you could take your first player, whatever that ends up being, 4 or 5 picks later. Then with those 2 picks in the second round, maybe you move up aggressively to the middle to get that last player, whatever the run is on a position. Maybe it's cornerback, maybe it's something else. And then maybe you can add with those 2 picks, you go up 10 spots, let's say, and then you add a late third-round pick or another fourth, which then allows you with your then 3/4 and 3/5 to be aggressive to get back up into the third round. And now you're talking about 2 players in the heart of this draft where it's supposed to be, the strength of it's supposed to be, and then you really can get aggressive about moving up and being aggressive with those later picks. Because I don't know if it was you guys that were talking about this earlier. I've heard this on many shows. The Bills have 10 picks, and it's good to have a bunch of dart throws, but I don't know if 10 players are going to make this 53-man roster. If you end up drafting 9, we know the Bills' ability to add undrafted free agents after this process is over. Their track record there is as good as anybody doing it in the NFL right now. I think that's the thing is, like, you want to be aggressive to get the guys that you really want. It's the same approach they took with Cole Bishop last year. Did it materialize into a year-one starter that really made an impact? No. But if he comes out this year and is a really, really good starting safety for you, then that plan still paid off. It just didn't pay off in the kind of time that you were hoping for it to. Here's the problem. As we go through the years here and the prime years of Josh Allen start to dwindle, you do need a little bit more return on investment earlier to maximize this window. I just don't know. The thing that I keep coming back to, and listen, I don't want to give it away. You mentioned the fact that we have a draft show this weekend. I got a really fun idea that I'm going to really let it stretch its legs on the podcast on Saturday. I'm not going to get into it now. But Brandon Beane has talked so much about the fact that they haven't been able to go out and get game wreckers, right? I don't know if you're going to be able to get a game wrecker at 30. And if you need a game wrecker to reach that next level, don't you have to do everything right now, no matter what it does to maybe next year's draft or other drafts or resources, to go get that player just to see what it's going to look like if you have it, because they haven't had it over the last 4 years.
Okay, so we're going to revisit the Micah Parsons conversation from a couple of weeks ago. Is that what you're saying here? Because I know Parsons isn't likely to leave Dallas, but in the recent weeks here, in recent days, we've seen TJ Watt kind of add a little bit of intrigue to the game wrecker kind of market when you see that he's not making what Myles Garrett is making in Cleveland or Max Crosby is making in Vegas, and that he probably wants to be making what they're making, but Pittsburgh's not willing to offer him that. Should the Bills be making that phone call, Matt?
To me, TJ Watt feels way too much like Von Miller, doesn't it? Like a guy that's going to be 32, 33 when he walks in the building. Starting at 32, he'll be 33, I think, in season next year or shortly after. You're really signing up for the twilight, and you're going to have to overpay for it. And I don't know if he's going to want a new deal. He's going to want to make 40 along with Myles Garrett, and I don't know if you're signing up for that. He's still a great player. But to go and make that move and pay that kind of money, you need some type of confidence that that's the version of the player that you're getting, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And because of the potential fall off, because of an injury, I just think there's other paths that you can take, more cost-effective paths. I can't get too much into it, guys. I'm going to have to leave a little bit to the imagination. You're going to have to come out to Wingnuts or tune in this Saturday night, 6 o'clock, our big pre-draft show. I have an idea. It's a very aggressive idea.
The same location from 2 years ago, Matt?
No, it's a new location. It's Millersport Highway in Amherst, right by the University of Buffalo, right off the thruway there. So if you're coming in from Rochester, it's an easy get. And listen, if that's not going to work for you, 5 days later, we're coming to Turning Stone in Verona, which might even be a closer drive from Rochester. I'm not sure. And we're doing a live watch party. So every year for the draft, I've covered it in Orchard Park. This year, Turning Stone and New York Rec and Social Club, we've had so much success with our live events there. They're bringing us out. We're going to host a live watch party. So we'll do a live podcast during the first round. We'll be hanging out throughout the entire draft. And then for any hardcore fans that want to hang out till 1 a.m. or whatever, we're going to do our post first round edition of the podcast afterwards as well. It's going to be a huge shout night at Turning Stone on Thursday.
I almost feel like we should book Matt on the fly here. You're going to be driving through Rochester to get to Turning Stone. We're going to be live before the draft from 3 until 6 at our location at Three Heads Brewing. And, well, that would be something to have a special guest appearance. Yeah,
I'm there at 3 o'clock, at the open.
Right at the open.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, like you're going to be coming through anyways. Maybe pull over, a little pit stop. You could say hi to the regulars in the sports bar on your way out to doing the Shout podcast in Verona at Turning Stone. That's one hell of a plan, Matt. I can't wait. It's going to be here before we know it. It's 9 days away. We've done a lot of talking about the NFL draft and what the Bills could do here with pick 30, and we're looking forward to seeing it all come to fruition here a week from Thursday night. Appreciate the time, as always.
I got to ask you, what was your impressions of Citizens Bank Ballpark there for the Phillies, Matt?
So awesome. My son's first trip where we checked another ballpark off the list for him. I believe that's number 6.
Ooh.
And but I'd been there before. I actually saw my cousin Andy play there back in 2012 when he had his cup of coffee, which was cool. I just got most people know her on social media that follow me because I share a lot of stuff. We did our honeymoon in New York City, and then we did a 3-city driving tour to go watch Andy in D.C. against the Nationals, Citi Field against the Mets, and then Philly at Citizens. So it was dope.
Awesome stuff, man. Look forward to talking to you again next week, and looking forward to a week from Thursday with all the action going around the NFL draft.
Dude, I'll see you guys soon. I'm pumped.
You got it.
That's
Matt Perino.
Thanks, man.
Syracuse Post-Standard, Syracuse.com, where you can read his work. Don't forget about the Shout podcast, live events, everything going on with he and Ryan Talbot doing an amazing job covering this team.
I've come to my conclusion, Danger. Pick 30? Okay. Is Cleveland going to take a quarterback at 2? Are the Giants going to take a quarterback at 3? Are the Raiders going to take a quarterback at 7? The answer is yes to all of them. Newsflash. However, they all need a quarterback, right? So, for the Buffalo Bills, ring, 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 you're on the clock at 30. It's the Browns. They didn't take Shedeur Sanders. They took Hunter. You doing that for a third-round pick? Moving down the 4 slots? Probably. What about the Giants? Pick 34. The Raiders need to go get a quarterback. Pick 37. Danger, I'm telling you, there's going to be an opportunity for the Bills to move back. Just don't do this with Kansas City, okay?
I'm just done with moving back. I want guys that can impact this team this year.
Dude, the price to get up to the top 10 or whatever it is you're talking about.
No, it's one guy. I'm not talking about getting in the top 10.
No. This is like, don't fall into this thinking. This is one where we roll the tape, and this is the guy you fell in love with.
Yeah.
Where the NFL draft, it is proven that take more shots here. Get more darts and keep throwing. Give me an extra second-round pick.
More guys you can put on the practice squad that other teams can pick up and take.
No. Then you actually move up and you take your later capital and you move up into the third and fourth round.
I'm Kenneth Grant no matter what. That's my guy. Whatever you have to do, whatever it takes. If you trade up only to trade back, I just think.
All right, Derek Harmon.
I could listen to that, but in terms of me planting my flag, my Bills draft crush, it is Kenneth Grant. I will not waver.
Derek Harmon, 311 pounds, 6'5".
Kenneth Grant, 6'4", 331 pounds. Just a mammoth human being.
So we want size over speed?
I want run stuffers. I want somebody that's going to help the Bills defense stop the run. We haven't had it for the last couple of years. They're vulnerable there. We've seen it.
I'm totally fine with, run here and there. It's a passing lead. Derek Harmon can get after the quarterback too.
Yeah, I think Grant will be able to do that. I mean, some of the film I saw on Grant, some of the footage is, I know it's college. I know it's not the same, you're not talking about the same opponents as you are going to see in the pros. But the size, the athleticism, his quickness, I just think he is a great complement to what they have in Ed Oliver. And it might actually unlock more of Ed Oliver, more of Greg Rousseau because of how big that guy is. But, we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. Maybe they do trade out of the first round, Gino. Boy, would that be anticlimactic, us waiting around for 30. Like last year, not only was last year anticlimactic, it was demoralizing and anticlimactic. It was terrible.
Seeing the Chiefs, trading with the Chiefs, why did we do this? I'm still not over
And
that.
by the way, in year 2, Xavier Worthy is going to be good again. Like, he's going to be good. We're going to have to live with that decision for as long as Kansas City is a thorn in Buffalo's side. It was demoralizing. And don't go through that again. Go get your guy, Brandon Beane. Go get your guy. Don't hesitate. Whatever it takes.
Well, this was from the overnight. Xavier Worthy's fiance says she's been granted a temporary protective order.
Is he going to miss time?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know,
we'll see.
but like, we want to grade this draft after one season. You would have thought Terrell Bernard, like, oh, okay, well, he barely got on the field, and like he ended up being something. So, can we can't wait 3 years here. I guess that's your point. We're in win now mode. We need a Super Bowl.
You have to be in win now mode. I mean, these quarterbacks are turning 30. Baker Mayfield turned 30 this week. Like, these quarterbacks are getting old. They're not young anymore. They're all on their second deals, their second or third extensions. Like, they need this. This isn't going to happen forever. You're not going to have Josh forever. I know that I'm stating the obvious, but
dude, there people are saying no.
Sense of urgency. Sense of urgency. Want to see it. Don't give up anything. You see a guy you like, go get him.
Okay, so Perino, that of all the years we've had Matt on, and I know we got to get to the break. He's never delivered a tease like that.
Oh, as far as like what his radical idea is for the Bills?
He's teasing Parsons, isn't he? Like what could possibly be so big that it's not a 0.0? We'll put it that way. Until Parsons signs with Dallas, it's not 0.0. We'll put it at 0.01.
I mean, I would love that kind of impact player being a part of the Buffalo Bills, no matter what the cost. I really don't care what it costs to get a guy like that. You go get him if you have the opportunity. I just don't know that they're going to have the opportunity. I think that Dallas is going to hold on to that guy, especially after talking to RJ yesterday. I'm not going to give up on the dream of them getting a guy because I don't think we should, just because, well, Myles Garrett's no longer on the market. Oh, Max Crosby's no longer on the market. They got paid. Well, go get the guy and pay the guy that's going to be that difference maker.
But I agree with Matt. TJ Watt,
still a hell of a player. It does feel like Von Miller. I won't argue that. Does feel a little bit like Von Miller, but there's a difference in what Von Miller was his first season in Buffalo and what we saw Von Miller at the end of his time in Buffalo. I mean, he still had game, and his technique and his ability, that didn't go away. He's always had it. He's just not as athletic as he was before the injuries.
Von Miller's still sitting out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably it. Probably all.
No, he'll end up signing somewhere like 1 year, $10 million. After some teams like, okay, draft is over.
Yeah, maybe, but I won't hold my breath.
Like, for the record, Brandon, no, no reunited, none of that. We've been there.
We're going to take a break, come back. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, going to stop by the sports bar here in about a half an hour or so. Cleveland, the opponent, tomorrow night. We'll get a preview of that. We'll look back to last weekend's games against Laval on. I mean, when you pepper your goalie with 41 shots, we'll find out what's up with the Amherst here as they close out their regular season and get ready for a playoff campaign with Mike Leone. He's stopping by along with your phone calls.
I've got a take that honestly I don't know, Danger, if you're going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right, or you're Mr. Krabby Pants. I don't think I'm being Mr. Krabby Pants when I tell you, like, there's something.
Mr. Krabby Ass. Get it right. You don't want to say the word ass like Horvat or I. You're Mr. Krabby Ass. Who doesn't like people going and enjoying time at the NFL draft? Who are these people? What are they getting out of it? Oh, I know that guy. That's the guy that's complaining. Oh, that's Gene. That's Mr. Krabby Ass in Rochester. All right, we'll get to your take.
All right.
We have time for your calls, as I mentioned, 866-4FAN. 866-4326.
Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
At stake for the Maple Leafs tonight, they're looking to nail down the 2 seed in the upcoming playoffs and get perhaps a date with Ottawa. Of course, the Sabres tonight, the opponent, our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live knows one position the Bills need to grab.
I see cornerback all over the place. So I really believe they're going to take a corner at the top because it's really the only need they have. And there'll be a guy there, even at 30, if they do pick at 30, which I still don't think they will. I really do believe this team is going to be close no matter how this draft class goes.
Red Wings begin a homestand tonight. Worcester, the opponent. All the action in the major leagues under the lights tonight. NBA play-in games tonight. The way this works, the winner is in. The loser will have to play later in the week. 7 versus 8. It's Orlando taking on Atlanta. Golden State taking on Memphis. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
With the first pick, the Tennessee Titans select
9 days away.
9 times.
9. From the National Football League draft from Green Bay.
Touchdown, Green Bay!
Mike Danger.
I went ahead and cemented my draft crush for the Buffalo Bills, Gino. I think they have to go get Kenneth Grant.
Gene Battaglia.
I think that you have another glaring need, and that's at corner. Now, who do they like at corner?
I agree with you. I think Goff's in a good spot.
Go Sabres!
Wiley Ballard asked a female fan for her phone number during the broadcast on air.
Go Braves.
They behave themselves on Braves radio.
Ohio State's national championship trophy got broken in 2.
I was wrong. The play-in is great. Hawks play the Magic. That is kind of a dud. And then the Grizzlies play the Warriors. That's a great game.
The Dallas Wings select Paige Beckers.
And it's tax day.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
You mentioned it, 9 days away from the NFL Draft. We are going to be live from Three Heads Brewing in Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the Arts for round 1 from 3 until 6. Broadcasting live, enjoying some great Three Heads beer. And, of course, talking to you, hanging out, getting ready for round 1 of the NFL Draft a week from Thursday. We look forward to seeing you at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the Arts.
Yeah, and I think we have a confirmation right at the top of the show. Matt Perino live in person.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. If he's on his way through town and he's mapping it out where he's going to be doing his live show from Turning Stone, yeah, if you're swinging through Rochester, come on. And if you haven't had a chance to meet Matt Perino, we'd love to have you stop out and shake his hand because he'll be hanging out for a little bit as well. So that's coming up a week from Thursday. We can't get to the NFL Draft soon enough. I'm getting excited. I'm having beers tonight with my buddy Tony, who's a Bears fan, and together we will come up with a plan that have the Bears finishing the season 17-0. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure that it's the season of optimism. If you want our SVP, the Fan Rochester is our handle, as Greg has done. My question is, should I take the whole day off or a half day? Greg, that's up to you, buddy. Just as long as you're there by 3 o'clock.
Yeah, this kind of falls under the, for me, I'm out of the recommendations game. I know this is our little take space here. I'm done giving recommendations. Whenever I see somebody asking for advice or recommendations, my default now is, you're an adult, figure it out. Greg, you're an adult, figure it out.
Now, who's Mr. Krabby Pants here?
I am not.
You are.
I am not. I just see a lot of recommendations. Hey, anybody know who does this really well? Anybody want to give me a recommendation? Like, you're an adult, figure it out.
Oh, well, the blind thing, I'll give you that. The blind social media. Hey, I need a good person to do my driveway.
Yeah.
Any suggestions? Yeah. Like, all right. By the way, you did that.
I know. And now
I'm like thinking about this.
And now I'm out.
You did that.
I'm out. Now I'm out because I didn't get anything from it. I'm out. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out of the recommendation game. And I'm out of the giving advice game. Greg, I love you. You're an adult. You decide. You figure it out.
Greg, you don't listen to him. We love you.
Roll up in your, what is that vehicle that he has?
Oh, slingshot.
Yeah, roll up in your slingshot like you own the place.
It's like one of my favorite stories when we moved into the new studio. Like, I get a DM from Greg. I'm watching you. Like, what? Where?
Ah. And then he's outside in his slingshot. It looks like a Batmobile. Yeah, roll up the 3 heads in that, Greg, like you own the place. Do it whenever you want to. We'll welcome you in.
We got Mike Leone coming up. You tell me which is the more crabby take. Yours that, I'm not going to give any recognitions. Or, all right, listen, I'm not trying to be Mr. Contrarian, right? But I think I've had my fill of the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, boo! Boo this man!
No, okay. They're going to fill the 81,000-seat Clemson Stadium, and good for them, and they're entertaining. And, yeah, they're going to be on ESPN 10 times a year. Hard to miss them on the platforms yesterday, right? They were going all around, even on the NFL shows. Great. I'd say it's like this, Danger, and you're the music radio guy. It's the phenomenon when you love a song when it first came on the radio, but after a while, like, oh, great, we're playing Uptown Funk again. I'm not being a hater. The Bananas are the overplayed song.
Nah, they're great. They're fantastic. Can't get enough.
Oh, wow, there's a guy in stilts. Ooh, a flaming bat.
And here's where I'm at with your take on the overplayed songs. The really, really good songs, when you hear them, you want to hear them again immediately. Like the first time I remember hearing Uptown Funk, I'm like, that was so good, I want to hear it again. And I don't think I'll ever tire of quality, a good quality product. Good art, it ages perfectly. It doesn't, when you look back at some of the movies that we watched back in the day that don't quite hold up today, like that's a tell that, okay, it wasn't really a great movie. And with the Savannah Bananas, or for that matter, like the Harlem Globetrotters, it's always fun. It's always a fun show. It holds up. I like it. I think they're tight. I think they're fun. I think they're good for baseball. I have zero issue with the Savannah Bananas. Again, what's your issue with them? You're just tired of them.
No, they're too big now.
You want them to go away?
No, they're not. For me, again, the overplayed song. There's only so many things you can do. Like for the whole Harlem Globetrotters, to this day, they're still making it around. This will be the Bananas, 30 years from now, where they'll be playing single-A stadiums.
Yeah.
And they'll remember the day where they played 81,000 seats in Clemson Stadium.
It'll be fun. I think it's a lot of fun. And whenever I see something from them in my feed, I stop. I always stop. More so than I do Major League Baseball highlights, because Major League Baseball highlights, a lot of times I'll be like, okay, somebody made a great catch, or somebody made a very pivotal strikeout, whatever it is. But the Bananas, they're a lot of fun with the Travis Hunter dance that they did the other night that made the rounds on social media. Like, how do you not love that? That's fun. I like that. Mr. Krabby Ass.
No, it's like, okay, it'll burn out. Trust me. Just like the Hot to Go song burned down. Every other one that
Hot to Go?
I don't even know who.
Chapel Roan?
Yes.
Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that song just had a moment. I mean, that was like a flash in the pan song of the moment.
Whatever hockey game you're watching, I guarantee, like, it'll pop up there at some point.
What about, like, speaking of, like, stadium anthems, like, with the NHL playoffs coming up, you got the tradition of, like, now, well, the Bills have Mr. Brightside now. They kind of ripped that from the University of Michigan. But in Colorado, they'll do all the small things, Blink-182, right? Like, there are, like, some songs that they're timeless. They never burn.
Well, it depends on the arena. Like, when the Amerks are going to the power play when you hear, so it just depends on what are you conditioned to on something like that.
When the first time I heard "Call Me Maybe" by Carly Rae Jepsen, Gino, I wanted to hear it again immediately. Never tire of that song.
I was at that summer jam you put on, and she was up there, and there were 10,000 people singing along.
Oh, it's so good.
Not anymore, though.
Good pop song. What else we got here?
What else? Okay, I don't want to report on rumors, right? Because there's speculation that, okay, is this for real or is it? And there's a whole Reddit thing. That's beside the point. I'm going to tell you what this rumor is. And whether it's true or not, it's beside the point. The point is, like, this is going to happen at some point. And here's the rumor, right? The new head coach of Bowling Green football, by the way, that's the alma mater or the executive producer. So I follow Bowling Green a little more than some others. It's Eddie George. Eddie George, running back, Titans, Ohio State. Great pull for them. The rumor is this. His recruiting pitch, come to Bowling Green, do well, get in the portal, and go to Ohio State. That Bowling Green is becoming a feeder school for Ohio State, recognizing their place in the world in the MAC. Now, again, I don't know if this is true or not, but what about this concept? At some point, this is going to happen. For one smart school is going to say, you know what? Let's just go win the MAC this year and try to get every guy we can and send them out through the portal.
This is in some degree has been happening in college athletics all along, right? I mean, the guy that goes to junior college eventually goes up and gets fed into the bigger program.
But no head coach would ever position it this way.
Well, in the world that we live in now, this makes a lot of sense.
Right. This is going to happen at some point. Like, you're going to have your minor league Michigan football school or whatever.
So let's say you're, I don't know, a school like Chattanooga, as an example, and your football program isn't really known for anything. But you get to Chattanooga as a freshman, a sophomore, you have a couple of good seasons, you're off to UT to finish it out, right? You're off to an SEC school. You're off to a bigger program, a bigger stadium, a bigger tradition, more eyeballs on your game.
Well, part of this, too, is it's the Eddie George connection. I'm Eddie George. I went to Ohio State.
Right.
I know Ryan Day. I'm going to put the call for you there. You couldn't get recruited, but I believe in you, so come play for me.
Sure.
And then we will walk in, and I'll get you there eventually. It's interesting, but you would only have that alignment. It wouldn't. I was thinking, would this apply to other sports? And the answer is no for me. Like, would St. Bonaventure ever hook up with an ACC school? And like, no. Like, players want to explore their options once they get to the portal. They don't need a feeder system in basketball.
I'm still kind of distraught over your anti-Savannah Bananas take. What else are you going to tell us you don't like, Gino?
Oh, Santa Claus, candy,
ice cream, puppies. Fun against all of it. No,
it's burned out, dude. Like, don't you see this? Like, when you see, oh, great, again, the guys in the yellow uniforms.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, is it burned out? Maybe, but I'm not burned on it. I don't have a problem with it. I just see it as like, oh, that's fun. Oh, look at it. They're doing another gag. Oh, something's on fire. Oh, that's fun.
It's nothing more than the Superstars.
Come on.
It's like the Superstars come in and you laugh, and then, hey, that's a lot of fun. And then you'll see them like 3-4 years later and like, oh, yeah,
so
I remember the one.
They're like the sausage races is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it.
The Savannah Bananas
it's
are nothing,
Savannah Bananas. You just
nothing more than a mid-inning entertainment option.
No, I can't say that because they're selling 81,000 seats.
Right.
And that's going to make a lot of money.
When did the Superstars fill out an 81,000 seat stadium?
I just say for me, they're the Superstars.
Yeah. Chris, one of our regulars in South Central Kentucky, I think Gene Battaglia is sounding a bit like baseball writer with his "I'm over the Savannah Bananas" take. I almost think they're the same person. It's not very traditional, the Savannah Bananas. Not a lot of tradition in their game.
Baseball writer would hate them. I'm saying I'm over them, Chris. That's the difference. Baseball writer would have
making a mockery of this great game. Is that what they do? Is that what the Savannah Bananas are doing? Baseball has marked the time.
Oh, no. It's past. Yeah. Okay.
It's part of our past, Gene. It reminds us of all that was once good and could be again. Can't be against the Savannah Bananas. What kind of an American are you?
Am I the only person that's thinking this?
Maybe. I'd be curious to know who else is over the Savannah Bananas. I'm not. I think it's fun. When did they come? They came through Buffalo
last year. They went to
year?
Buffalo, yeah.
Sold out, right?
Right.
Everybody went.
They sold out in Fenway, and
they came to Rochester. Yeah. Everybody would go. I mean, when was the last? I remember being at Innovative Field when they did the Field of Dreams game. Right. That was a like true standing room only kind of sellout gig. It was a lot of fun.
That's a little different, though, right? Those are. I'm going to sound very baseball right. Those are Hall of Famers.
But if I'm saying if the Bananas came through, it would be that kind of atmosphere. It would be that kind of crowd. They would draw that kind of attention if they came through town, just like they did in Buffalo. Just 81,000 to see a fake baseball game.
And this field is ridiculous because, well, Clemson, it's a football field. So what? The left field wall's 200 feet.
Fantastic.
I guess it doesn't matter. You don't really need.
It's not like they're trying to play a women's soccer match in the football field or anything like that. It's not.
Where did that happen?
doesn't need to be regulation. It doesn't need to be completely measured out to spec. Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, going to stop by the sports bar next year as the Amherst are playing their final 3 games of the regular season. Cleveland, the opponent on Wednesday, before Fan Appreciation Night, Friday night against Toronto, and finally on Saturday afternoon, the regular season finale against the Marlies in Toronto.
And then we still don't know the playoff schedule. Come on, give us the schedule.
Well, we've got dates, if I'm not mistaken. We don't know necessarily the opponent.
I don't think we even have the dates, Danger.
Okay.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything about dates being released for the first round.
Well, we'll get to Mike Leone and you get a preview of this weekend's action. That all gets underway tomorrow night from Blue Cross Arena with Cleveland, the opponent. We'll get a check-in on the Rochester Americans next on the Fan Rochester.
Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Just 2 games left in the season for the Buffalo Sabres, including tonight. Toronto coming in. Coverage begins at 7. Head coach Lindy Ruff on the opponent.
I was expecting a good opponent. I mean, they play hard. They do a good job staying tight inside. They're good speed going up ice. You know, it's a good team to look at. They manage the puck well. They get it in behind you. There's not a lot of risk when it comes to giving up big opportunities because of mismanaging the puck, which that's a quality of a lot of good teams.
Amherst are back home tomorrow night against Cleveland. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone, who joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Red Wings begin a series tonight at home against Worcester. All the action in the majors under the lights. NBA playing games tonight, 7 versus 8. Winner goes into the postseason. Orlando takes on Atlanta. Golden State takes on Memphis. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
And on the return up the right wing side is Hellenius, trying to draw in front. Backhander. Oh, what a goal! He scores! He pulls it through the D, onto the backhand, upper right corner over the left shoulder of Primo. A huge goal for the youngster, and the Amherst tie it up.
Well, that's a highlight from Friday night against Laval. The Amherst dropping 4-2 to the Rocket. And Coach Mike Leone stops by the Sports Bar every Tuesday at this time to share his thoughts on the team and give us a preview of this week's action. Coach, when you pepper your a goalie with over 40 shots, you expect a different outcome. Talk a little bit about how the team played on Friday night, albeit in a losing effort.
Yeah, you know what? It was one of those games, man. Like we had 44 to 17 shots on goal. You know, usually those games you're going to win. They had that was pretty much their full lineup, and obviously we got a couple guys. You know, we had 3 big pieces out, but I really like the way we played. I think the game comes down to, you know, probably the turning point for the game was we had a 5-on-3 with 2 minutes to go going into the second period, and we didn't get a goal. And usually when that happens, we don't score on a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. You don't win a lot of games. It just happens that way. But to be honest, I really like the way we played. I mean, that's a really good team, and I thought we tilted the ice. We had the puck a lot. We were physical. I think we gave up maybe 4 grade A scoring chances the whole game, and I think the 2 plays that we gave them, I mean, we turned the puck over twice to the guys that you can't turn the puck over against their team. They're really good players, and they made a couple plays, but overall, given what we had in our lineup, and that's taken away nothing but the group, but at this time of the year when you don't got 2 centers, Rathbone didn't play. Those are huge pieces. I think collectively, I really liked our group and how we played that game against that team.
So, Coach, 3 games left, and we know this. You're locked in as the 2 seed in the North in a very tough division. How do you approach these last 3 games? Are you altering your style knowing that there are bigger games ahead coming up here in a couple weeks?
You know, it's a really good question. I think even leading up to the week, there was an outside chance we could catch Laval. We've been in first or second since Christmas time. I think, not that I think we played bad. We're 6-3 and won our last 10. It's just a little bit of human nature where they know, you know, you can't get to the top and we're stuck at 2. It's to become complacent a little bit. But there's some, you know, we had another Rosie's up tonight, so you know we got some big pieces out. There's a little bit of managing loads a little bit. So, you know, we have an idea of what we're going to do in goal, but other than that, there's going to be a lot of different guys getting opportunities on the power play. And by no means does that mean we can't. We still got to play good hockey and play the game the right way. We can't just mail these last 3 games in. You know, we're going to play the 18 skaters that would give us a chance to win, and we're going to try to win the game. But I think the guys have earned, you know, especially the guys that have played a lot of minutes, to put ourselves in the position we're in. That I think we got to be smart right now about, about the lineup and what we're going to do. So there's still some things we got to sort out and make a decision tomorrow.
That North Division is just stacked between Rochester and Laval and every other team that's fighting for their postseason berth. And these are all opponents that we obviously know a lot about from the amount of times you get to play them over the course of a long season. I know you're not going to tell us that you're rooting for one team over another team because the postseason is a completely different animal, but do you see any matchup advantages here depending on how this all shakes out as you, the 2 seed, looks for your opponent here in the first round?
You know what? Not to be honest, not really. I think when you start, if that team wins this game or we beat them tomorrow, I think you can you can get kind of stir crazy. I think you just focus on what you can control, and that's bringing an effort tomorrow and continuing to play the same way. I mean, for me, a big one is, we're at 184 goals given up right now. It'll only be the 5th time in the history of the team that a team has given up 200 goals. So there's little things like that, I think, that are still in play for the group. These little monumental goals you can build off of. But when you get to the playoffs, either way in our division, you're going to play a really good opponent. And then if you're fortunate to get to this, I guess you would say it's a third round because there's a first round. Teams get a bye. You're going to have to play a really good opponent. So either way to come out of our division, I think that team has a real chance to win. Now it's just when we get everyone back and ready to go, we'll have I believe our first game will be the Friday the 25th. We'll have a good amount of practice time and just get ourselves prepared, just making sure that we finish the season the right way. It's really hard to get 40 wins in this league. We're at 41. I know the guys want to get as many wins as we can given whoever's in our lineup. So I think that's the focus going into the weekend.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what I'm rooting for, and I'm not a fan of the Montreal Canadiens, but, hey, make the postseason. Stay there for a while. Don't send anybody down. Also with Tampa Bay for sure, and with their affiliation with Syracuse. But it's funny that these last 3 games where, okay, you have the option of doing what you choose here. Cleveland and Toronto really don't want to be facing one another. They want to get don't be in that 4-5 matchup, get a little extra time. So what do you expect? First of all, let's talk about Cleveland coming in tonight. Right now they're clinging to the 4th spot in the division with 81 points.
Yeah, no, they're a really good team. I mean, it's unfortunate for them right now. Their goalie right now, Jet Griggs, I think he's won 4 in a row for Columbus. I'm assuming he's going to start tonight. So a big piece of their team is gone. So, it happens in this league that their best player is up trying to get in the playoffs, but they're a really desperate team. I think they're 1 point out of the 3rd seed, and I think that's really important to get the bye. So they're gonna come and they're gonna push, and they had a really good weekend last weekend. They swept Wilkes-Barre at home a couple weekends ago. So I think the teams that are still fighting for something, you kind of see it at the NHL. The teams like Colorado and Vegas. I think Washington is 3-7 their last 10. It gets a little tough on guys. But when you're playing for someone, it's a different ball game. So we expect them to come and they have a really good lineup and they're skilled and they got a couple of really good players that could hurt you. So we just have to make sure that we're ready to go and ready to play because they got guys that could really expose you.
Friday night, fan appreciation night, and it's your first year behind the bench for the Rochester Americans. Has it lived up to the hype? Is it everything that they told you it was going to be as far as the local support that you get here from the Rochester fans?
Yeah, no, it was great. A little shaky at the start. They were probably thinking when we were 500, but we ended up with 40 wins, and I think everybody's really, proud of the team, the product on the ice, and that's the biggest thing. I think we're close to 6,000 every game this year, and that's incredible. Even in the community, whether I'm going out to eat because my family's not here, everybody's been fantastic. People show up early for warm-ups. It usually doesn't happen in other places in our league, and I think it's been a huge part of our success. I know our guys, love playing at home. And the Ryan Miller night was really cool for me. It really felt like a playoff game because first place was still at stake. It was sure it would have been nice to come out on the right side, but it was incredible, and really looking forward to what that building looks like when playoffs start.
Oh, just wait. we are all ready here. Our guest is Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans. An honor today as the Amerks nominee for the AHL Man of the Year, Zach Metza, who does so much in the community. If you could say a few words here about Zach and why he's a worthy nominee here, Coach.
Yeah, Metz has been amazing. I remember from the first call I had with him when I got the job in the summer, and everybody spoke on his character and what type of person he was, and he's lived up to the hype. He's an incredible person. He's extremely selfless. It's about the team. He's great in the community. He's the first one if we have an event. He's the first guy that wants to be there to participate, and he's been a joy to coach, really fortunate, and I'm really happy for him.
Well, Mike, he won a college national championship a few years ago with Quinnipiac, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Western Michigan getting their first NCAA title, a school that you have ties with, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. We were the last team when I played there in 2012 to win the CCHA championship. It was the first time in 30 years that the program is won. But it's incredible to me because it's a school where they're not paying guys. They don't have a bunch of NLI money. They did a great job of finding really good kids that work hard. They didn't have any first round picks, second round picks, third round picks. They had one fourth round pick. And it's been pretty incredible to watch. And then they made it to the tournament since Pat Ferschweiler, he was my assistant. I think he's done an incredible job. And JJ Crew, my former teammate, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around if you've ever been to Kalamazoo. It's a really small town. It's a MAC school, and to bring a national championship back to Kalamazoo, it's incredible. I got goosebumps watching that game because you feel like you're a part of it. I played for Coach Ferschweiler. He's been a big part of my life and my career, and they've done an incredible job. And I think their roster is going to be a lot of the same. So they've done an unbelievable job, and hats off to them.
Yeah, as luck would have it, Saturday night, you didn't have a game. Were you watching that by yourself?
Yeah,
what was go ahead.
Yeah, no, I drove home a little late. That game took. So I went home after the game, and then I watched the game with my wife and daughter in our basement. We got a big TV set up, and it was. I was probably even more nervous for that game than I get before our games. It was. You get so far in college, it's a one-game elimination, and it's so hard to get there. A lot of things have to happen, injuries. You got to have a really good goalie, and it was awesome. It was really awesome to see, and a lot of my old teammates that were there that I still talk to. So, yeah, awesome. Hopefully, I can make it down there in the summer to tell everyone congratulations and see that trophy.
You know who the real...
It's hockey all the time.
Can I
no, she's... I got home at 4:30 in the morning and then got up early with the babies. I've been able to get home a lot this year, so it was great. And they're actually going to come for a couple of weeks, start next week, so I'm excited.
Mike, I got to get a verdict. I mean, you mentioned the trophy, and it's a prestigious thing to win a national championship, whether you're talking about college basketball or college hockey. Can we do something about the trophy? Because the NCAA trophy for men's college hockey, even for the March Madness, it's a plaque. We need to. It's a hockey champion.
I agree. I agree with you totally. I thought that was. I didn't really realize it, but then when you see it, it looks like. A trophy you get for like a 12U.
Yeah. It looks like it belongs in a high school trophy case. What are we doing? It's the NCAA.
No, you're right. I agree. I totally agree.
Well, someday we're hoping that you're hoisting a trophy, but we got a long way to go here. Mike, really appreciate your time as always. Amherst are home coming up tomorrow night against Cleveland. Fan Appreciation Night Friday against Toronto. And this is our MO, just so you know. At some point, we're going to take our show for the postseason, and we like to do it right in the lobby there, right in the corridor there.
The atrium.
Yeah,
the
that's
atrium.
great. Hey,
Well,
I started Dev on Friday for you, too. So.
You did. I was ready to text you there, but I figured.
Yeah, hey, I told you. You made the call. I told our staff.
Well, sorry it didn't work out, but
No, it was a great hockey game. It was, if you came and watched, we probably deserved a better fate, but that happens sometimes.
Mike, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. And next time we talk, we'll be looking to the forward.
Yeah, we'll be talking playoffs next week.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Appreciate it. There's Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, the playoff-bound Rochester Americans, with the 2 seed locked up, 3 games to go, and I kind of laid it out there. There's some things at play here down the stretch. You don't really have anything really to play for. You got 3 games. You want to win these games. There's still goals, micro goals that you set for the team that you want to accomplish, but hearing him say that there might be some load management here as far as who gets what and who's out there. Yeah, let's get right and be ready to go for that playoff matchup that we still don't know who the opponent will be, but he did tip his hand there Friday. The what did he say? The 25th?
Yes, Friday the 25th. So that would be day 2 of the NFL draft. And the Amherst will have the home ice. So
yeah,
that'll be the best of 3. The sacrifices families have to make. Like Mike's family's still back in Michigan. Like Rochester to Detroit, I just had to look it up. I did it once for the Frozen Four. 5 hours, 9 minutes.
The drive.
Cutting through Canada, going through on London, Ontario, and everything. But that's okay. Game ends on Friday. He gets in at 4:30 in the morning in Michigan.
I think I'm flying because if you're flying into Detroit, then
you can get a direct flight into Detroit.
Yeah, you can get the direct flight, and I imagine that's got to be fairly affordable. And then I'm wondering if you're driving from Detroit, what's the drive from Detroit to Kalamazoo? If you're Coach Leone and you want to visit the old stomping grounds.
Yeah, it's a straight line. I would guess like another hour after that. The point being, though, you would want to fly, but if you can get in first thing in the morning, save every minute there and be with your family. So
yeah,
good that his family's coming out here to Rochester, though.
Fantastic stuff. Yep. Really impressive rookie season behind the bench for Coach Leone here in the Rochester Americans to do what they've done. To be one of the top teams in the AHL throughout the course of the season, to finish with the 2 seed in the North, and to be able to have some home ice. It's going to be fun.
Sounds like they're not taking their foot off the pedal, but if you need to get guys extra experience on special teams or whatever, sounds like, he's open to that.
For sure, yeah. They've got guys like Rosane up with Buffalo tonight, so we'll see how it all shakes out here as far as the lineup is concerned, but with the NHL season winding down, I think we all kind of are holding our breath here to see, all right, what kind of reinforcements? Are we going to get Kulik back? Can we get Kulik back? Can that make a difference here for the postseason when you've got teams like Laval with Montreal potentially being in the postseason, when you got teams like Syracuse with Tampa Bay in the postseason? Can we extend that playoff run for those teams and get a bit of an advantage here in the early rounds at the AHL level? That'd be a lot of fun.
One other note on the American Hockey League. Shame on you, Islanders. Bridgeport this season, if we just combined all their losses into one bucket there of losses, overtime losses, shootout losses, they went 15-55. Oof. It's one of the worst marks ever in the American Hockey League. Oof. I remember there's one time tell us about Bridgeport. Well, we're just looking to do our
yeah. Beer league team out there playing AHL hockey. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got happy hour and a few. More NFL draft notes. We'll recap some of what we discussed with Matt Perino, who joined us earlier from Syracuse.com, talking about the Bills' needs, different positions, and what he might see here as a pathway for the Buffalo Bills.
Also, we could talk about this, too, because we talked about how the Dolphins are actively shopping Jalen Ramsey. Good luck with that. He also named his price the GM for Tyreek Hill.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe there's a team that'll do this.
We'll get into that and more next. Some notes from around the NFL on the way next on the Fan Rochester.
App today to listen to the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia happy hour right around the corner. We have time for your calls at 866-432-6585-866-4FAN.
I don't get this quote at all. So, a couple notes out of Miami. First of all, the Dolphins really, really want to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. You can make him an offer. The catch is, though, you've got to pay Ramsey his $21 million that he would be due coming up this season. So good luck to the Dolphins finding a taker on that. But then the question came up as Chris Greer was entertaining questions pre-draft. Somebody asked about Tyreek Hill. So the wide receiver, if you remember, this is the final game of the season, and he pulls himself out of the game, and he's telling everybody he's done after the game. And, okay, I'm not sure where we left off with Tyreek Hill. And, hey, could you consider trading Tyreek Hill? Quote, there's not anything that we're pursuing. Who knows? If someone wants to come and give us 2 first-round picks, we'll consider it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and now that if somebody says, you know what, we'll give you a second, you should consider that too. So you're making yourself kind of look bad by setting a bar that is so completely unrealistic for Tyreek Hill.
Right. I don't know that there's a team out there that's going to have sympathy for the Dolphins and do them a favor on either of those players. And Tyreek Hill, do we even know, like, is there a suspension coming for all of this stuff? I mean, it's not a good look. If the NFL has their way, these are the kind of things that they don't want. Like, they don't want that kind of publicity around, a supposed star player.
He's 31, too.
Still pretty fast.
Still fast.
Still pretty
it's
fast.
It's not the corner position,
no,
but
it's
come
not.
on. It's
the Ramsey thing is more humorous to me because the idea that at this stage of his career, he's due $21 million this year, and the Dolphins right now are on the hook. Of course you're trying to trade him. What sucker is going to trade for Jalen Ramsey at $21 million for this year? That's not happening. That's a terrible deal. Just a terrible deal. When was the last time Jalen Ramsey was good? It wasn't in Miami. One year in L.A.?
Maybe the 1 year in L.A.
1 year in L.A. I mean, corner is there's not a shelf life on cornerback, folks. You gotta play that and time it out and pay the man when it's time to. When you see Jalen Ramsey at his stage of his career making $21 million, that it just makes you appreciate the value that the Bills have in Christian Benford at 19 per.
We have a monitor here in the new studio. I still call it new. We've been here 11 months. And on it was okay. They're doing the Jaguars GM now. Like if you remember last year, this exact same press conference for the Jaguars gave us some comedy gold.
We're not there yet. We still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet. We'll do that on Monday.
Whoa.
That was Trent Baalke. Well, I don't know if the fart got him fired, but after this season, he wasn't there. The new GM, James Gladstone.
Did he hold his gas?
He looks like he's 15 years old.
I know.
He's actually 34.
I know.
Which is really young for a GM. But he made news today that, wait a second, they're not using any of their pre-draft visits? You're kidding. Like, if you're interested in somebody and you have the opportunity to fly him in, is your budget so shot that you can't afford a plane ticket and hotel accommodation?
I think you're viewing it all wrong. They're the smartest team in the league. They just know more than everybody else. They're doing it their way. This is Moneyball, except NFL Moneyball. They're smart, Gene. This is this young GM that looks like your neighbor's teenage son is smarter than every other NFL GM. They are going to put their eggs in other baskets rather than the pre-draft visit. Joke organization.
Yeah.
Joke organization. They have become a clown show. I think Shad Khan has stepped away, let his son make more of the, Shad is in the real estate and the stadium business, and they got what they want. They're going to get their upgraded stadium, and he's still got all of his property in London with Wembley and everything else. But his son, who I believe is more involved than he's ever been, is a bit of a clown show.
So Gladstone was asked the obvious question, why? Why wouldn't you have any pre-draft visits? And his answer, he's talking about an implicit bias that if you bring in somebody and you talk to them, now you're going to be more inclined to actually take this. And he doesn't have a superpower that will give him a deeper understanding after a short in-person meeting. This is somebody that doesn't understand the draft process because if nothing else, create a smokescreen. Learn something about somebody else that maybe was a teammate of his.
I'll also push back a little bit on not having a superpower to be able to identify. You can tell if you're somewhat personable, you can tell within a few minutes, I can get along with this person I can tolerate this person, or this is not going to work. This is just not going to work, right? Like, I think most communicators, and if you're a GM, you better be able to communicate. Most communicators can kind of size up whether or not they're compatible with the person they're interviewing. I think that's a miss. Are they the only team that engages in this?
No, actually. So Gladstone came from the Rams, and the Rams didn't do any of this. But
that's funny.
I think that comes with an asterisk, right? What's the difference? The Rams didn't have any picks, right? Like, what was the point? Okay, like we're waiting until the 4th round.
I think Sean McVay just views the whole pre-draft process as a joke. Like, when you get to draft night, he's just there to crack wise and point and laugh at people that make stupid picks. That's all we've seen McVay do, right? Like, McVay just likes to, Belichick picked that guy from, whoa, that small-ass school is on the board. Look at that. What are they thinking? That's all we know about McVay in the pre-draft process. He doesn't go to the combine. I just think that guy in that organization, like, to them, the draft is kind of a big joke. Yet they've gotten some pretty good players out of the draft. You look at Puka Nacua. You look at
all right. So maybe he figures, watch the Jags clean up here.
Well, who knows? I mean, ultimately, you can go in with the best intentions. You can do all of your homework. You can believe that you got your guy, only to find out your guy is a massive disappointment, or your guy doesn't have the work ethic that you believed he might have had, or your guy hates the organization or the facility or a specific coach. Every situation is different, and you're just hoping that you can hit more than you miss. But Jacksonville feels right now kind of like a clown organization. It feels like a sideshow. It doesn't feel like a serious organization.
No, like when you have to you're exporting one game a year, and granted, the Bills were once upon a time that clown organization, but they cleaned it up.
But I think that the way the end of the year went down with the firing of Peterson and everything else that went into the bringing in of the new coach from Tampa, and how clumsy that all was, I just think Trevor Lawrence hasn't materialized.
Right? He threw for 2,000 yards last year. That was it. Like, he took a massive step backwards.
Not great, Bob.
Everything down across the board. Okay, well, that was Peterson. They drafted you a wide receiver. You have skill guys.
Well, we'll see. Maybe Liam Cohn can unlock in Lawrence what he was able to unlock in Baker Mayfield, but I'm going to reserve judgment. I certainly am not impressed by Duval. What the hell? So you've got your next door neighbor's kid running the organization is the GM, and that dork is your head coach. Yeah, good luck out there.
But you got rid of the Mr. Gas back there.
Yeah, no more Trent Baalke farting in press conferences. Excuse me. Just keep going. I mean, like, respect. Just respect. Didn't even miss a beat.
Yeah, well, we're just setting our draft board. Oh, excuse me, and we'll talk to Coach coming up.
Happy hour is next. We have plenty of time for your calls at 866-4326, 866-4FAN.
to Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Just 2 games left in the Sabres season, including tonight against Toronto. Our coverage will begin at 7 here on The Fan. The Sabres, by the way, just called up Isak Rosén from the Amherst. The Amherst back home tomorrow night against Cleveland. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live knows one position the Bills need to draft.
I see cornerback all over the place. So I really believe they're going to take a corner at the top because it's really the only need they have. And there'll be a guy there, even at 30, if they do pick at 30, which I still don't think they will. I really do believe this team is going to be close no matter how this draft class goes.
Rochester Red Wings begin a series tonight at the stadium, taking on Worcester. All the action in the majors on the lights tonight, including the Yankees at the stadium taking on Kansas City. NBA playing games tonight, 7 versus 8 matchups. Orlando taking on Atlanta, Golden State taking on Memphis. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
With the first pick, the Tennessee Titans select
9 days away.
9 times.
From the National Football League draft from Green Bay.
Touchdown, Green Bay!
Mike Danger.
I went ahead and cemented my draft crush for the Buffalo Bills, Gino. I think they have to go get Kenneth Grant.
Gene Battaglia.
I think that you have another glaring need, and that's at corner. Now, who do they like at corner?
I agree with you. I think golf's in a good spot.
Go Sabres!
Wiley Ballard asked a female fan for her phone number during the broadcast on air.
Go Braves.
They behaved themselves on Braves radio.
Ohio State's national championship trophy got broken in 2.
I was wrong. The playing is great. Hawks play the Magic. That is kind of a dud. And then the Grizzlies play the Warriors. That's a great game.
The Dallas Wings select Paige Beckers.
And it's tax day.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Oh, God, yeah, thanks. Thanks for that reminder. It's tax day.
Oh, like, no sympathy, like you didn't know this.
You're right.
Hey, by the way, the Irondequoit Bay Bridge opens every 1st. Like, what other stories that are not stories? Closes every April 1st.
The Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball today.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Like, everybody wears 42 honoring the great. And look, they should have games going on today. If it's Jackie Robinson Day, shouldn't you kind of make baseball center stage on a Tuesday? There's no reason that you couldn't have had a game at Wrigley or wherever. It couldn't be a game on now. I digress.
Well, Jackie Robinson Day, you know, Gene, it reminds us of all that was once good and could be again.
If you're down on the world, just recite this speech. There is one constant in this world.
Baseball has marked the time. The one constant through all the years, Gene, has been baseball. The one constant through all the years, Gene, has been baseball.
Have you ever watched Field of Dreams?
Bits and pieces. I saw it cross my feed the other day, and I'm like, maybe I should. Nah. Because the bits and pieces I've seen, like, all it takes is one character, and if I don't like that character, I'm out. And the character is, I want to say it's Costner's wife's brother, the
redhead guy,
Busfield or Timothy. Yeah. Every show or movie that guy is in, I'm like, I'm out. I just can't get behind that guy. I don't know why. He just, like, I feel the same way about John Lithgow, the actor. Like, when John Lithgow shows up in a movie or a show, I'm like, I don't know what it is. I just can't do it.
He's no longer with us. Charles Grodin was that guy for me.
Oh, yeah. No question.
Even though it was great midnight run, and like, later on.
Yeah, no, I just kind of like, you see him, and like, I don't know if it's because they play the same kind of character, and everyone's like, yeah, you're just kind of despicable. I don't know.
Same kind of character. You know, that was really the thing that started off Kevin Costner. Like, wow, I made a lot of money on that. I should be more baseball movies here.
How many did he do? Like 4, 5? I feel like it's just baseball movies in the frontier.
He did the, let's see, he did the one where he was the Tiger pitcher.
Right.
And then
where he threw the perfect game.
Actually, I might timeline.
He wasn't in the Natural.
Bull Durham, I think.
Bull Durham was the first.
That was okay, so that's before Field of Dreams.
Mm-hmm. I believe so, yeah.
And then, okay, I'm bored with that. Let me be an NFL GM.
All
which
right.
I've never watched Draft Day.
You can go without it. I mean, I left watching Draft Day. After I watched Draft Day, I'm like, all right, kind of feels like it was a movie for the NFL draft. Like, just to kind of like get football fans even more into the NFL draft.
So I remember the time of this, it wasn't going to be Cleveland. It was going to be Buffalo. He was the GM for it. And for some reason, they switched it out to Cleveland. That was my protest. No, I'm not going to watch it if you're going to do Cleveland. No, not.
Kind of good that they chose Cleveland, because Cleveland, art imitating real life, dysfunctional in drafting. Just, he's the one, he tries to be the one sane person that can make this all work. And it was, for me, it was like, okay, I guess I'm okay for watching it, but it felt kind of like almost propaganda-ish about the NFL draft. Like, oh, this will get you even more into the NFL draft.
Wait, propaganda-ish?
I know,
kidding.
With the NFL, I know, hard to imagine. Well, we are 9 days away from the first round of the NFL draft.
9 times.
We are going to set up shop like we do every year for the NFL draft at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. We'll be live from 3 until 6. I put him on the spot. I don't care. Matt Perino, he mentioned, oh, yeah, we're going to be doing a live stream of the Shout podcast from Verona at Turning Stone. I'm like, well, that might time out where you might just be driving through Rochester while we're on the air. Swing by Three Heads, Matt.
But if you think Matt Perino will have a cold one or have a plate
Body's
or anything,
a temple.
no, he will not.
Body's a temple.
No, he might bring an apple.
Might gnaw on a branch from outside.
That night we took him. It's 11 o'clock on a Monday night.
I think he hates us. Secretly, deep down, hates us for punishing him that way.
I love our town, okay? That still, to this day, you can find a place where you can go get a delicious plate on a Monday night at 11 o'clock, and Matt was just not having any of it.
Yeah, my tradition, my draft night tradition is 3 Heads until 6 live, hang out with the regulars, have a couple cold ones, watch a good portion of the first round there at 3 Heads, and then eat my feelings and just bury my face in a plate.
Yeah.
At home.
Doing something similar. So I will be at 3 Heads, and then, like, you have other responsibilities. I have other responsibilities. Duffy's going to be at the Taproom Bill Gray's Chilai Avenue. So I'll be over there hanging out with him and watching the first round.
All right. Very good. So that's our draft, round one, a week from Thursday. That's the plan. We look forward to seeing you. If you can make it out, we love that. 3 to 6, 3 Heads, neighborhood of the arts on Atlantic Avenue.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Much debate on whether or not the Bills should stay put at 30, move up and get a guy, or trade out. I think we're all over the place. At minimum, I've cemented my draft crush for the Buffalo Bills. That is Kenneth Grant. That's my guy. That's the guy I want to see them go get. Now, if that's not how it plays out, and I would certainly listen to anybody's suggestion at 866-4326. Gino believes that a quarterback-desperate team will want to trade back into the first round and target the Bills at 30 to do so.
Yeah, and by doing so, you can, just from moving down, Cleveland has the top pick in the second round. Is Cleveland going to be okay? Because you have the Giants, you have the Raiders, you have other teams that might not want to wait. Say it's only Milroe once we get down to that, or Dart. If you get the Browns passing on a quarterback, if you get the Giants passing on a quarterback, newsflash, they're both not drafting a quarterback. They're going to need to get a quarterback. Come back into the first round, net an extra third rounder. Heck, Brandon Beane, ask for a second rounder next year. Just load up in that regard. There's not that big a difference, Danger, between pick 30 and pick 33, other than it's a first round against a second round.
I just wanted to get their guy. If their guy is there, if you have your guy and he's going to be there for you, then that's your guy.
Well, that's the part that none of us know. If this was the ye old days when you would have John Butler doing the draft luncheon at Ilio DiPaolo's in Buffalo, and he'd wink, wink, nod, nod, tell you. No. Like, ever wonder, like Chris Berman, always the cabbie, knew. No, those days are over, folks, and for good reason. Like, this is big business, and the Bills don't want to project. But one thing we do know about Brandon Beane, he is only going to take a player in the first round if they have a first-round grade on them. So how many actual first-rounders do the Buffalo Bills have? And if they can't get one of those, I see them moving out. Or what you're saying,
to go up and get their guy.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to have anybody left with a first-round pick.
Can we find a common ground? Let the draft come to you at pick 30?
Yeah, I just don't
see
know.
that. I don't see that happening.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I bring this up because I don't know that it's a nothing. And most of these guys, some of these guys aren't going to be on the radar for the Buffalo Bills, but the NFL did announce the 17 prospects that will be in attendance in Green Bay for round 1 of the NFL draft. And you mentioned it, and I think it's an astute observation that it's a TV product and it's good drama. It's high drama to see a prospect like, say, Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe, quarterback prospect, a name that you remember from their days playing college ball, that may not go in the first round, that are just going to sit and wait for their name to be called, that might not get called on Thursday night. They're just 2 of the 17. Now, history will tell us that in last year, 13 prospects attended. All 13 were taken in the first round. 2 years ago, 17 attended, like this year. 13 were selected in the first round. Back in 2022, you had 21 prospects. 17 of 21 of those prospects were selected in the first round.
So about those quarterbacks, Danger, if we're just assuming no trades here at this point, let's start with Denver at 20. Do they need a quarterback? No. Pittsburgh, glaring yes. But what if it's somebody's still on the board after that? Chargers? No. Green Bay? No. Minnesota? No. Houston? No. Rams? No. Baltimore? No. Detroit? No. Washington? Buffalo? Nope. Kansas City? No. Philadelphia? No. You want one of those quarterbacks sitting there if you're ESPN. That's the reason they were invited. It's great television. It's the car crash. We shouldn't enjoy watching this. You do.
I also think it's interesting who they didn't invite, namely Shador, not on the list. Now, I'm not positive whether or not they extended him the invite, and he said no. I know that a lot of prospects that were invited, a handful of them, Tyler Warren being one that pops into my head, the tight end out of Penn State, was invited and said, nah, I'm going to stay back with my family, watch from the living room, and wait for my name to be called. Everybody assuming he's going to be a first-round pick. He certainly will be a first-round pick. He's a fantastic tight end. But I think it's interesting when you see Shador, the variance, and we've talked about this, is I don't think there's any wider variance for a prospect than what Shador Sanders could be. Because you could see him go as high as 2 if Cleveland wanted to go get him. You could also see him fall out of the first round completely.
Well, tell me what the Saints are up to. What they will do versus what they should do. Here's what I think the Saints at 9 should do. Tank.
I like that.
Tank. Your cap is a disaster.
Yeah, I like that.
Bite the bullet. No Shador Sanders or whoever you draft is going to rescue your season. You are going to suck one way or another. So you know what? Clean it up. Actually draft the best lineman because you know what?
You're going
to need him at some point. And then next year, then you can draft your guy Manning. Boy, wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
That would be fun. That would be a story. You have a rookie head coach. Nobody's expecting much out of Kellen Moore in year 1, especially if Derek Carr's not out there. And even if Derek Carr was out there, would you really expect the Saints to contend? Nah. Go ahead. Just tank the 25 season and get the big prize. Bring Arch back to New Orleans. That would be poetic. It would be perfect.
Yeah, send Spencer Rattler out there. Let him be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. He'll get his
Bring back the Aints.
Yeah, he'll get his head kicked in. You'll see all the Saints fans in the Superdome wearing paper bags on their heads again.
Well, so
like the good old days.
Let's say the Saints kind of take our suggestion, right? We had RJ Ochoa on from Blogging the Boys. My dream of Shador going to Dallas. Like, they just gave Dak this extension. So where I'm thinking, Jerry, will see this, that would be really reckless for them to do something like that. If you, like, can you imagine?
But reckless is their business. They're in the business of being reckless. Reckless is waiting 2 seasons to give Micah Parsons an extension, and now you have to pay him more than anybody else that's not a quarterback. That's reckless. That's poor management. That's all they do is reckless. I can't rule it out. Like, I love that idea for Dallas. I can't rule that idea out. Could you imagine Shedeur sitting behind Dak for a season or two? I think it would be fantastic. I don't know if you're rooting for it. If you're a Cowboys fan, I would be.
You're rooting for Dallas to move up a little bit and draft Ashton Genty. That's the thing. Like, it worked with Zeke. That's a long time ago now.
Yeah, no, the Cowboys have invested since 2020 the least amount of draft capital in the running back position. And it's not even close. They really haven't addressed running back in the draft at all. And I'm sorry, if you think Javonte Williams is somehow going to be better this year behind a worse run-blocking line in Dallas than he had last year in Denver, a mediocre year for him in Denver last year, I'm sorry. Like, you need so. Genty would be great. I don't know that he's there for them when they're picking. Yeah.
There's only one thing I think we know is certain, right? Cam Ward is a Titan. Is anybody disputing that?
Feels like an automatic. I mean, Travis Hunter might be a once-in-a-generation type athlete, and I'm very curious to see the team that takes him, what their plan is for him.
If I'm Cleveland, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking Hunter, and then I'm getting back into the first round and trying again.
It's so rich. Even if there isn't any suspense with pick one, and it is Cam Ward going to Tennessee, would the Giants do it 3?
You signed 2 veteran quarterbacks. 2. It's like you took the Steeler playbook and, all right, and instead of Fields, we're going to go with Jameis Winston. If it's about saving your job, you take the quarterback, right?
You got to win now. You don't have. There is no tomorrow for Dayball and Shane.
Carter on that line would be all right. That would get after a lot of teams. New England doesn't need a quarter. The Raiders at 6 would be another kind of wild card. Jets at 7. Yeah, the more you go through this exercise, Danger, it would be shocking to me if Shedeur Sanders fell to 21.
To the Steelers.
Yeah.
If he falls to 21 of the Steelers, they run to the podium, right? You have to.
Well, okay. Do the Steelers announce on draft day they sign Aaron Rodgers? Is that also part of the equation? And then we don't need to draft. We don't want, like, Aaron Rodgers flipped out because the team drafted Jordan Love, traded up for Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, you're coming off an MVP year. I get your understanding that but you're not in any
back
position.
then I remember saying to myself, they don't have to tell Rodgers anything. They're the Green Bay Packers, and they can do whatever they want. But then I see how the Bills kind of consult Josh Allen and want to get Josh Allen's buy-in on the picks that they make and the guys that they, like Green Bay, Rodgers probably does have a gripe there. As far as like, hey, I just wanted to be a part of the decision-making process. I wanted to be taken seriously as the guy that's won MVPs and a Super Bowl. I'd like to know what the plan is. And they didn't want to share the plan for his replacement. So he felt slighted and vindictive and won, I believe, 2 consecutive MVPs after that. So, oh, by the way, when Rodgers, if he comes back, he's going to need a new helmet. His helmet style. It's been banned. It's done. Going to have to get familiar. Maybe that's the thing. That's the straw that broke Aaron Rodgers' back. You mean I can't wear the helmet I've worn my whole career? The one that goes on sideways when I get hit? You all remember that image of him with the helmet literally on sideways, his eyes all crossed? Draft night. That's when we hear about Rodgers. Yeah. That's when that happens. It has to happen when you got the most eyeballs on the league. Well, it's going to be fun. And Matt Perino joined us earlier today and shared some of his thoughts on what the Bills need, some of these positions of need, some of the prospects at these positions. He's got he's cooking up some stuff. He's working on some stuff for the Shout podcast too that he wouldn't really share with us all. But if you missed any of that conversation, you can certainly check that out. You can check out Mike Leone, Amherst head coach, who joined us last hour. Both of those are available wherever you get your shows. Search out the Sports Bar wherever you pod, and you'll get all of our guest appearances. And if you miss any part of the show and you want to go back and listen, we've got that for you, too, in the free-to-download Odyssey app with chapters. You can just go back and listen to any part of the show you may have missed.
So this is a fun time of year in sports, right? Because we're talking about the draft. Just came off a Masters. Coming up in shots here. We'll give you some of the numbers from the Masters. And spoiler alert, they were fantastic.
Of course they were.
Yeah, we'll put it into context here. Let's just get to the NHL postseason right now, but we've got some business before that as well. We've got Syracuse did not win today, by the way, in the portal. We'll explain.
Okay, we'll get to that and more next. It's time for a round of shots, and don't forget about last call. You can have the final word in the sports bar if you pull up a stool and join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Just 2 games left in the Buffalo Sabres season, including tonight, Toronto, the opponent. Our coverage begins at 7. Head coach Lindy Ruff on the opponent.
I was expecting a good opponent. I mean, they play hard. They do a good job staying tight inside. They're good speed going up ice. You know, it's a good team to look at. They manage the puck well. They get it in behind you. There's not a lot of risk when it comes to giving up big opportunities because of mismanaging the puck, which that's a quality of a lot of good teams.
For these last 2 games, the Sabres did call up Isak Rosén from the Amherst. The Amherst are back home tomorrow night against Cleveland. Rochester Red Wings begin a homestand tonight. Worcester is the opponent. All the action in the major leagues on the lights tonight, including the Yankees at home against Kansas City. Tonight, you got the NBA playing game, 7 versus 8. The winner of these contests get in. Orlando taking on Atlanta. Golden State hosting Memphis. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
Time to get to a round of shots in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
So the TV numbers for the Masters, as you would expect, great. But at 7 o'clock, that's when the viewership peaked at just over 19.5 million. That's up 33% from last year. It was the most watched final round of the Masters since 2018, which wasn't Tiger. It was Patrick Reed. What was the reason for that? Go figure.
Cheater.
9 of the first 10 PGA Tour events, by the way, had posted year-over-year gains on TV. It's a sign that life without Tiger Woods and the battle with Liv here, look, golf is going to be okay here.
Yeah, I think the sport itself, though, guys like Bryson DeChambeau playing it out on social and creating content and kind of like being accessible, or at least giving the impression that he's a little bit more accessible, I think helps as well.
Well, you also have this storyline. You know what comes around this September? It's the Ryder Cup. So you now have, to what degree is this real? But it's a rivalry now between Rory and Bryson, and they're going to be on opposite sides.
Yeah.
And where most of us here would be like Team Rory. Well, he's not going to be for the Americans.
That's
here.
right.
So but then again, the Americans taking his money from overseas. So it's all one big pot. The playoff season is going to have a different look in the NHL. For the first time, the 4 original 6 teams from the United States, the Bruins, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, the Red Wings, they all missed the playoffs. Could this be the year we get a Canadian team hoisting the cup for the first time since 1993? Winnipeg was actually the President's Trophy winner. Edmonton is back. In the East, you have Toronto, Ottawa. Montreal's still not in. They need 1 more point, and then they would get in. Playoffs begin this Saturday. Not in the playoffs, the Buffalo Sabres. Be sure to listen tonight at 7 and tell a friend.
So, interesting. Like, I always believe that if you get as many of the original 6 teams in the postseason, it just makes it a little bit more compelling. It's an added layer of, like, heritage and stuff. And then I also remember kind of thinking to myself, I don't really care if the Canadian teams don't get into the postseason. I'm just kind of, I don't really love the teams from the South, the Florida teams, the California teams. This, I don't know what it is about this postseason. It doesn't feel, I'm not as jazzed about this postseason as I have been in years past for the NHL.
Well, you will be. Once you get there, that would be my prediction, because it always is a product that doesn't disappoint, because this is the one sport, in my opinion, where you play at one level and, oh, my gosh, this is what it actually looks like.
It does. It is a different game in the postseason. I'm the first to say that, yes. But maybe it is some of these original 6 teams not being in there. Like, it's hard for me not to root for a Boston or Rangers if my team isn't in it, just because I like the heritage. I like the original 6 teams. I don't really care about Toronto or Montreal.
You don't care about it was the Panthers last year, and you watched, and the Lightning are back. But to your point, though, like, there was one year, and I think this was the last year that NBC Sports, extinct now, but they had the rights back then. It's Boston against Carolina in the Eastern Conference Final. And we go to the watch party in Carolina. It's like, there's 10 people there. Like, okay, Raleigh, are you really a good hockey town? Right. I don't think so.
Right.
By the way, San Jose not going to the postseason. I don't know if you saw this. They held a press conference today announcing that Logan Couture will not be playing the sport anymore. They didn't use the word retirement. He's going on long-term injured reserve, but he's never going to be able to play again. The condition that he has that will prevent him from playing again is called osteus pubis. That is an inflammation between the left and the right pubic bone. 36-year-old is a noted member of Bills Mafia. Couture is 36.
Yeah, I hate these kind of announcements when players that have been in the league a long time just, this happened to Marion Hossa. I remember when Marion Hossa just kind of like, I can't play anymore because of this condition. I just feel like there's a lot of secrecy around some of these injuries, some of these long-term injured reserve designations that get thrown out there. And I really hope that no matter what, they come out okay. I just think it sucks that we won't get to see players like this again.
Yeah, gosh, from the football standpoint, I thought, okay, we're going to have Eric Wood retirement announcement, and then the press conference is delayed a long time, and he gets up there, and the word retirement was never used. And it was like a contract thing. It's like when lawyers get involved or whatever. That's really what this is about. Make sure you get your money, I guess. So we have the playing games beginning tonight. We also have the 9-10 matchups tomorrow night. And in the West, if you're not paying attention, it's going to be Dallas. They are the 9 against Sacramento. GM Nico Harrison today met with the media for the first time since the day of the Luka Doncic trade.
Oh, boy.
Well, there was one catch. The media was allowed to talk to him, but no cameras, no recording devices, like this is the Masters or something. Harrison, from the transcribed reporters, doubling down on his mantra of that defense wins championships, and he has no regrets on the trade. If you didn't have any regrets, then why didn't you put this on camera?
Right. Kind of a coward move, right? I mean, I'm not going to dispute him if he believes that defense wins championships. That's fine. You can say that all you want. Maybe you were just so pissed that Luka was, in your opinion, out of shape or wasn't hustling back on defense.
Or maybe you're just doing what the owner wanted you to do, but I don't get that
maybe
sense. I don't know.
Maybe. It feels misguided. It certainly looks like it's worked out more in favor of Luka and the Lakers, and I think they're set up for success now for the next 10 years with Luka there in tow. But what do you have in Dallas? Tough. It's a tough one. Let's see if they can get through the play-in tournament, which is kind of a joke, although I'm kind of looking forward to it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that Lakers-Minnesota first-round matchup. Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, there's going to be some – finally we get to some good basketball.
The West is compelling to me. I mean, I think the East could give us some action here. I think Detroit is fun. I think Houston is fun in the West. I think a couple of new teams, OKC doing what they did out West, like –
Somebody I'll accept. Detroit, to me, feels like the Denver Broncos. Hey, you're a good story. That was a lot of fun. Okay, well, let's pat you on the head, and we'll see you next year because, gosh, if you haven't been, it's going to be the Knicks that face against the 6th seed Detroit. The Pistons, the latest franchise to pull this move. Only locals, Danger.
No.
The only orders that are being accepted, people with billing addresses on their credit card located in Michigan, Northern Ohio, parts of Indiana, and Canada, right over the border. The Sabres make it back to the postseason. They're doing this too, right? Oh, notice I said if and not when.
Yeah. I think this is cowardice too. Like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of that more fans from the other team are going to show up? More Knicks fans are going to show up?
I don't know if they knew this or not, but you could buy the tickets and then you can actually flip them.
Right. Money is green. What are we talking about here, guys? Like, you're basically saying you're scared. You're admitting that you're scared of the opposing team's fan base.
But this is Detroit.
Right.
It's
weak sauce.
This isn't. Again, Raleigh, North Carolina, or Tampa, or wherever you may say, like an opposing fan.
No, I remember when Tampa did this to the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup final. I'm like, you guys are weak sauce. This is so weak. It's just weak. It's we're free. We don't want to take over. Like, oh no, if your team if you're a fan of the Knicks and you want to travel, like we've seen Knicks fans travel in the last couple of years, you go there and you take over, and it's an advantage. Why? You're telling us you're afraid of this fan base by announcing this is ridiculous. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No. Syracuse football lost a good player to the portal today. Trevor Pena led the team in receptions and receiving touchdowns last season.
Is McCord going to go?
That's a good one.
Second round, third round?
Yeah. I'm thinking Friday night. He doesn't make it to Saturday, Danger.
Yeah, sneaky good season. And somebody's gonna look at him and be like, yeah, I think we can work with that. Yeah, Kyle McCord could be a lot of fun in the NFL. Man, I can't wait. Draft can't get here soon enough. We're 9 days away from round 1 of the NFL Draft.
9 times.
Gives me a reason to wear that button out. We'll be at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue, the neighborhood of the arts. We invite you to join us from 3 until 6. We'll have special guests, and, of course, we'll have unbelievable Three Heads beer to enjoy all afternoon and all evening long. We'll chop it up. We'll talk about the first round. We'll talk about the Buffalo Bills. And we'll talk about the NFL Draft for our draft party, our pre-draft draft party at Three Heads Brewing, Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. Last call next in the sports bar. You can have the final word. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Rochester.
And even if all the really good ones are gone and all that, you'll get a guy like Siobhan Revelle he might have been the best corner in the class, but he's coming off an injury.
Yep.
You might have to wait on him for a month or two. But a guy like Siobhan Revelle is going to be available at 30, probably. Maybe not. Guy's 6'3", like 210 or 205 or something. He's slender, fast as can be, and he's got all kinds of ball skills. Just really, he's everything this team would really like in a corner. He's got those measurables, those big measurables. Yeah, I'm thinking corner. But even if they do pick at 30, they're going to be able to get a really good player. They just can't miss on him, right?
Measurables season.
Yeah.
That's Steve Tasker earlier today on One Bills Live. He's in belief that the Bills are going to go corner round one of the draft. Siobhan Revelle, one of the names being thrown out there, East Carolina product who tore his ACL last year. Maxwell Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky, who ran a 4.28 40 at the combine. Whew. Don't know that he's there at 30, but I'm saying if you have your guy, you go get him. My draft crush is a defensive tackle, but if it's corner that you want, go get one of your guys.
I think 30 is too rich. I'm a little more conservative on this. I think the Bills trade down. And then just like, how many people have we had on that said the sweet spot in this draft, top of the second round? Okay, give me another one. Let me have extra picks along the way. This is going to be interesting this Saturday. What do you think of a school retiring numbers in college football as soon as the player leaves? I don't know, has this ever happened before? But I understand why it's happening. So this Saturday is going to be the spring football game at Colorado, which full stop. Remember, they wanted to bring Syracuse in as an opponent.
That's right.
Yeah, the NCAA, stuffed shirts that they are, wouldn't allow it. Explain that to me. You can have your own spring game, but you can't play somebody else. Really? I digress.
We hate money.
Yeah. Shedeur Sanders is going to have his number 2 retired. Travis Hunter, his number 12 retired. I totally get that. You're Deion Sanders. You're not leaving the program. Let's celebrate the program. Let's get everybody out there and get you psyched up and send these 2 guys off. And I'm hoping that somebody puts a microphone in front of Shedeur or puts a microphone in front of Travis Hunter, and we learn a little bit more about their thoughts about the draft. That, by the way, will be coming up the following Thursday.
Timmy Parmesan sending me a text on the secret textoso. Browns take Hunter, pick number 2, and then trade back into the first round at 19 with Tampa to get Shedeur. So you see, Timmy Parmesan thinks they're not going to wait until 30. They're going to move up.
No, I think, Timmy, though, that Shedeur, again, the variance on this, I'm going to stand by this. I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth. We wouldn't be surprised if Shedeur went number 2. I would not be surprised if he fell out of the first round altogether. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. The Saints at 9, let's take, for example. What I'm saying is Buffalo at 30 for any of those teams that didn't get a quarterback, whether that's the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders. Like, these teams are going to want to jump back in. They're going to want to screw the other team that didn't have a quarterback. Jackson Dart trading back into the first round. Or maybe Kyle McCord. He's the weird one where everybody doesn't talk about him as a first rounder, but man, he's getting a lot of run here.
Yeah. Can't wait. It's going to be fascinating. Fascinating to see what the Bills do. Fascinating to see how the quarterback dominoes fall. Fascinating to see which direction, what position the Bills feel like they need to address in the first round if they stick around in the first round. Either way, we're going to be celebrating the pre-draft draft party. 3 Heads Brewing, Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. Gino and I will be live from 3 until 6. Get the live show going. We have some RSVPs already from some of the regulars here in the sports bar, our upper echelon elite listeners that are going to stop out, hang out, and chop it up, talking NFL draft, talking Buffalo Bills. Looking forward to that. Really, really can't get here soon enough. That's a week from Thursday.
Can you imagine that? And then Thursday, we learned the team hasn't announced this yet. Mike Leone saying that game 1 for the Amerks is going to be Friday.
That's right.
The 25th.
Yeah, I could have swore I saw somewhere that even though the matchups aren't set, that the schedule was set and tickets aren't on sale for it yet. You can't go on Ticketmaster and get them yet.
Right, which that's I would have thought you would want to put it out there, get the tickets sold in advance. It's not officially Syracuse yet. You could still have Cleveland or Toronto jumping up there.
Yeah, well, that's another thing to keep an eye on here as the NHL season winds down and the Sabres extend their playoff drought. Will Yuri Kulik come back down to Rochester for the postseason? That's an advantage. That's not a nothing. Roseanne, we would imagine, yes. Kulik, that would be Roseanne and Kulik one more time in the postseason for the Amerks. That would be a lot of fun. We'll see how that all shakes out. Oh, by the way, yeah, the Sabres are on tonight. I mean, what's the percentage of Leafs fans at KeyBank tonight?
99.4.
That's it? You're not going 99.9%? That's
9 times.
It's cute that we think that Sabres fans are going to come out as there's nothing left to see here. And honestly, how demoralizing, honestly, if you're a player for the Sabres, knowing, oh, boy.
And you're looking up and you're hearing.
Oh, boy. Here we are. We got to play this game in front of 0.6% of our fan base, all Leafs fans here. We'll have that setting up nicely. We have that for you tonight on the Fan Rochester.
Please listen.
But listen anyways.
Yes. Absolutely. The one show who makes fun of our own programming here. The Fan Rochester.
Why not? We don't take ourselves that seriously. Tomorrow in the Sports Bar, as we do every Wednesday, we'll check in with PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network. We'll get some winners. We'll talk some NBA play-in. We got to get PJ's take on the Masters, too. I'm sure he had some thoughts and some emotions after watching Rory win in dramatic fashion.
Like my guy Cam Smith.
Yeah,
like money. Just Venmo me the money, Gene. It'll
right.
save you the money.
That's right. It didn't really work out for your guy.
It did not.
Matt Perino was fantastic this afternoon in the Sports Bar, covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Also, Amerks head coach Mike Leone, who we mentioned, who joined us last hour. Both of those conversations are available wherever you pod. Search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances there. Like and subscribe while you're at it. And a big special thank you to everybody who watches the Sports Bar on our stream, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester. We stream on Twitch.
Hit the music.
At The Fan Rochester as well.
Not yet. 3, 2.
Not yet. You're trying to tell. Don't get inside my head, Gino. It's a scary place. You don't want to live in my brain.
You can talk, but you're doing the math all together while you're looking at the clock and telling everybody what they can go check out and everything else.
I don't like to brag, but I am a bit of a professional. Silly audience segues are for kids. So that's it. The table is set for tomorrow. PJ Glasser stopping by the Sports Bar. And if you missed Perino or Leone, wherever you get your podcast, just search out the Sports Bar.
Tricks guy?
No, not a Tricks guy.
What?
Tricks?
Tricks are for kids.
Horrible residual cereal milk.
No, it's awesome.
Comes out looking all gray and discolored.
Delicious.
Give me a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch for the RCM. The residual cereal milk, Gino. Come on. Sabres hockey tonight at 7. JR Sport Brief on the way next. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow starting at 3 on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar.